You know what I love?
Sports.
I love sports.
Sports.
When it comes to
Texas A&M.
Where are you getting this information?
Let me tell you.
Welcome to TexAgs.
I need to talk a little sports with you, Ags. David Nuño here with TexAgs Radio.
Welcome back to TexAgs Stacked. I'm Billy Liucci.
Olin Buchanan.
Make a mistake. We're not going anywhere. This is going to be a great program, and we're building it into a great program.
The best way for us to win is to do it together.
Do you realize everybody knows who you are right now?
I stand by what we do and how we do it.
Schools are like, we're freaking Texas A&M, man. Like,
That's about as pretty a throw-catch combo as there is.
I saw the safety roll, the slot fade. I knew where I needed to put the ball.
You had no other option but one hand at that point.
Yeah, man, 50-50 ball, I got to come down with it.
You know, if I'm betting on anybody, it's the Aggies.
It is all about Tennessee today here on TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers Rollo Insurance Studio. But I start today's show off with a question. I feel, and maybe it's because I'm being a prisoner of the moment, are we a little bit more sad or upset or just perplexed after the Bama loss than the Miami loss? Because if I remember, OB, and he's Olin Buchanan, it's the Go Hour presented by the Warehouse at CC Creations. If I remember, I feel like the Miami game, the vibe was down because, oh, here we go again. But there was also, but it seems correctable. I feel like tackling, we can fix the tackling. And then after this Bama game, it's like, we did a lot of things right, and we should have won, but we didn't, so I'm going to be sad about it. Is that?
The way I felt about it was, and the way what I interpreted the mood to be for the Aggie population, and I could be dead wrong, but I thought there was anger after Miami. Like, we know you're a better football team than them, and you tripped all over yourself, and you lost the game you absolutely should not have lost. Look at what they did with Georgia Tech. Right. You let a team inferior come and beat you because once again you weren't ready on the road for whatever reason. Okay, this one I think it's more like I don't think anybody's given up, but perplexed. You said that was a pretty good word, and I think but I don't think it's strong enough. I'm not sure exactly if I know what the right word is. It's not given up, but it's somewhere between frustration, of course. Somewhere between perplexed and just throwing in the towel, because they're not doing that. But it's like, what's it going to take? I mean, the first time you let a team that's not better than you beat you because of your own poor tackling and mental mistakes, and then you have Alabama at home on the ropes. You moved the ball on them. You did everything like you said that you needed to do, and you still. You know what? You found a way to lose.
Well, this is the thing about college football, the pendulum. And Billy actually wrote about that this week. Let's go to the hotline. Billy Liucci is joining us here in the first part of the show. Billy, good morning, buddy.
Morning.
I started the show with a question, but I want to move forward to Tennessee. But I guess my question was, I felt like there's a different type of response to the Bama loss than there was after the Miami loss. But as you kind of wrote about in your college in your column this week, Billy, the pendulum of college football, the way it kind of goes, and this week could go a long way into being like, here, we're back, or it could go a long way to saying, it's spiraling out of control.
Yeah, look, what Olin just said, they found a lot of ways to lose that Alabama game. And I think that's a completely different game than Miami. When you watch that Miami game and watch that game, that's still two different football teams. They found ways to lose that one, but they also did a lot that could have given them a chance to win. Against Miami, I felt like they kind of cruised into a 10-0 lead. Miami fumbles a punt, you get a punt block, and it just, I think the game, that was a different football team. Just go watch it. Watch the way they played. There were some similarities, like, they missed some blocks down the stretch. The Alabama D-line got after them, and the secondary got exposed. We know the secondary is a weakness if an opposing quarterback has time. We worried about that in some of the blowouts with open receivers they had. And we know their O-line, which I believe is improved, is still not elite by any stretch. And we also know that Bama's the best D-line they'll face. Did they find ways to lose the game? Yeah, but they look like a different football team. So here's what the reality. If you don't want to sit back and cry all week, here's the reality. In the last 3 games, in SEC play, Texas A&M has beat the crap out of Auburn. And you can say they didn't. They beat them 27-10. If it wasn't for a giveaway fumble, they might beat them worse. They whipped Auburn. Georgia couldn't do that a week after. I'm not saying A&M's Georgia. You get the point I'm making. Then the next week, they whipped Arkansas. Arkansas was trying to make it interesting late. They whipped Arkansas. Physically, they beat them by pretty much 2 touchdowns on the scoreboard. However you want to couch it, they whipped them. In the 2 weeks around that game, Arkansas took LSU to the final play in Death Valley, and they took Ole Miss to the final drive in Oxford. So, and then last week, they lost to Alabama in a game that we all, like Olin just said, we all know they had so many chances to win and just kind of refused to take advantage of it. But that was a 4-quarter, 60-minute battle where they matched them physically. So that's the team they are right now. The real question, though, is are those weaknesses that we talked about, are they going to be, are they going to be debilitating and crippling on the road tomorrow in Knoxville? Is A&M going to be good enough to beat Tennessee on the road? And unfortunately, there's enough of those missed opportunities and missed blocks and missed coverage assignments that we don't know the answer to that. I'd love for this to be a team that had just beaten Bama, where we sit back and go, damn, they're going to roll into Tennessee and beat Tennessee because they're just better. But really, kind of going back to what y'all just said, there was a million chances there if they make one play. If they convert a 3rd and 1 or a 4th and 1, if Max sees Max on a walk-in touchdown, just gets rid of it. If he hits Anias in the open field, there's a million, we can keep going on a million different things, right? If you don't get a field goal blocked, who knows? If Anias' foot doesn't step out of bounds and you have 3 minutes and 11 seconds with 3 timeouts left, down 2, million different things. But guess what? They're still the same football team. So we'd be sky high going into Tennessee, and they still have just about as much a chance to lose outside of the mental. Just like I think they have just as much chance to win had they beaten Alabama on Saturday. They're the same team as long as they can hold it together mentally. And I do worry about that with football teams that aren't used to winning and think they're close to turning a corner and then lose and then have to go on the road. That kind of stuff certainly concerns me.
Billy, are you concerned about the offense at all?
Yes and no. I am, because either you execute or you don't, and you score the points or you don't. So that there's a bottom line there. I would be a lot more concerned. Here's the deal. Am I concerned that they're going to play a half a good football this week? Because if they do, they lose. Same in Oxford. Same against LSU. Games against Mississippi State and South Carolina will be way closer than they should be if you play a half of football. On the flip side, we're focusing on those halves, and I'm going, damn, they do still look close offensively. They really do. I mean, they scored 17 in the first half against Bama, and damn, I mean, Anias Smith wide open in the end zone from inside the 10 when you have to settle for a field goal, an overthrow, or throws it behind and high. And the play I talked about earlier, inside the 15, where you've got Max for a walk-in touchdown. You have to dump it. You don't have to go through that full drop. That's 31. That's 30. No, that's what is that? We kicked the field goal. That's 28 first half points against Alabama that they were 2 open receivers away from having. That's execution, but you also go, fine, factually they only scored 17. Okay. Texas had 13 going in the fourth against that defense. Ole Miss scored 14 in the entire game against that defense. You look at how they played the first half against Arkansas, and you say stupid turnovers got them in the second. And then that second half against Auburn was elite offensive football. So I'm concerned because I got to see it. Kind of like you did the whole offense. I got to see it. I got to see 4 quarters. I feel like it's coming though. But the problem they've got is it has to come this Saturday. They're not going to win a football game without playing good offense. I don't know if it's 3 quarters or 4 or 3.5. And at the end of the day, we have to look at that scoreboard and say, man, they were really good offensively. Whether that's a 27-24 win or a 38-35, we got to look at it and go, they really took a step forward offensively. Because if we don't, we're going to be talking about back-to-back losses going into a bye week and 3 losses by midseason. So am I concerned? Yeah. Am I so flustered by the bad half that I'm going to ignore the good half and what they were able to do to make that happen? And also to point out how good those halves were? No, I'm not that concerned.
I'm of the mind that if Tennessee plays well and A&M plays well, the A&M will win the game. The only way A&M doesn't win if Tennessee plays well and A&M has continued mistakes and things like that. But are we to the point now when we break down a game and you try to make projections that you just have to factor in, okay, there's going to be these breakdowns by A&M? Do you have to assume that now?
Yeah, I think so. I think until they show you otherwise. But it's like I said, OB, last week against Bama, and every team they play in the SEC. Honestly, if I'm being perfectly honest, this is the one that worries me the most moving forward because I know the least about the Vols. I've watched them a couple times, and they haven't been tested at all. And this environment, I think, is going to be as tough as any that A&M's played. These guys have played in since probably Tuscaloosa last year, and they did a great job in that one. But, yeah, I think here's the deal. I said it last week. Can they afford to make mistakes and beat Bama? Yep, they can. They're good enough. You know why? Because Bama's going to make mistakes too, because they're not that great. And every team on the schedule, including Tennessee, are going to make mistakes when they play A&M. Because they're not that great. No one the Aggies play is flawless. We're worried about A&M secondary. How about LSU? We're worried about A&M's O-line. How about Tennessee's? How about South Carolina's? How about Alabama that gave up 6 sacks and 8 tackles for loss and only ran for 23 yards? These teams are going to make mistakes, including Bama with all the false starts and things like that. But I'm with you from the standpoint of if A&M doesn't play their A game and Tennessee does, then yes, A&M loses. If they both play their A game, A&M wins. But here's where I kind of drift off from you on. I think both those teams, Tennessee and A&M, and everyone else in the SEC this year, maybe even including Georgia. I'm not, after what they did this week, you got to kind of go, okay, they woke up. But I think every team on A&M's schedule, both their A game, like A&M's A game, is going to be riddled with some mistakes in a 4-quarter football game. They're going to play, I wouldn't say mistake-filled, but they're not going to be flawless football. And I think for A&M, it's as simple as you better make less mistakes because against Bama, guess what? You made more. And that 1 or 2 more or whatever it was the difference in losing 26-20 and winning 26-20.
Mm-hmm. Billy, here's a question to follow that up. Who's in better shape the rest of the way? Like, in your eyes, the way things stand here on Friday, October the 13th, does LSU have a clearer path or does A&M?
Clearer path. I think
or just a better shape to finish.
Well, I think LSU does. LSU does because they get their crack at Alabama. Now, they have to play them in Tuscaloosa, right? Like that. But they get their shot at Bama. And but they've lost to Ole Miss. I don't think A&M has a clear path. I mean, I think A&M, their SEC West chances took a massive hit. If it's not for the team they're playing tomorrow in LSU, it's almost like both those teams would have to beat Alabama. I suppose there could be some giant 3-way tie. I suppose A&M could win out. Even that doesn't work, though, because A&M wins out, Ole Miss and LSU both get a second loss. So, I think the only path off the top, I mean, I don't expect Bama to lose to Arkansas or Auburn or somebody like that. I think the only path, or even Kentucky, I guess if you tell me Bama's going to lose 2 out of 3 to Don't they play Kentucky, OB?
They do. They've got Tennessee, Kentucky, Auburn, LSU left, I know.
Yep.
And
So
Arkansas
lose
this
2
week.
out of 3. Yeah, and I don't see that happening. If they lose 2 out of 3 to LSU and Tennessee and Kentucky, sure, A&M wins out. But I think LSU would have the clearer path just from the standpoint of they get to play them. They get to play them, and they probably will score on that Bama defense. And I don't know. I would say LSU. I'm more concerned, Nuño, with A&M. If they can beat Tennessee this week, tomorrow, in front of 100,000 in Knoxville, and going back to what Olin said, if they do that, they're going to make some mistakes. They might have a turnover. They might have a red zone or 2 fail where they get 6 points instead of 14. But that would mean Tennessee does too. If they beat Tennessee, they played a good football game. Will they play a perfect game? I doubt it. If they beat Tennessee, they will have gone into Knoxville, played a really good football game on both sides of the ball, and they will have gone out and just showed a hell of a lot of mental toughness. And I would be the first one to say, you've got to completely believe in this football team moving forward. I'm not thinking about the West. I'm thinking about the program and this football team moving forward. And all of a sudden, what do I think of their chances to go into Oxford and beat Ole Miss? What do I think of their chances to go into LSU and going to Baton Rouge and beat LSU? If Milton in that passing game that we're so worried about this weekend, and a good Tennessee running game, if they go in there and outscore those guys and the secondary holds up to a degree, are we sitting here going, okay, well, you feel a lot better about Jackson Dart and Jaden Daniels and Malik Neighbors. You don't feel great, but I feel a hell of a lot better about A&M's chances to win those 2. And then you start looking at that schedule, and I think you change your tune just like you would have had they beaten Bama with this Tennessee game.
Bill, is there any health updates that you want to provide or can provide at the moment, or is it still we'll wait till tomorrow?
Yeah, let's wait till tomorrow. I would say that we don't need to ask that anymore. I'll write it. When I know it, I'll put it out to the board, not on the radio or whatever. But to answer your question in a different way, I'm certainly chasing down to see if any injuries during the week between now and game time.
All right, we'll hit a break here. We'll come back with more with Billy. We're going to go through OB's matchups, and Billy will give us some matchups as well. You're listening to TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. OB?
Yes,
we don't have time, but I thought about it. There was a moment where I was like, if we could squeeze out 34 minutes to go to a certain location that has pretty good food, we would go. Like, if we can make the commute to Bryan and then to the airport, where would we go?
Oh, we'd go to Fargo's, of course.
You'd go far for Fargo's.
I would go in, but the thing is, you don't have to go far for Fargo's because it's just right there in Bryan.
But you would go.
But I would go far for Fargo's.
You'd walk to Fargo's.
Well, yeah, if I had to.
If you had
Fortunately,
to.
the truck's still running for now. But especially today, because you know what I like? I really do like, and this is not a joke. I like catfish. I like catfish.
Why do you say it's not a joke? I know you love catfish.
I like catfish a lot because the people listed don't know.
Yeah.
I like catfish a lot. And I like coleslaw, and too much to your chagrin.
Yeah, it's not my thing.
Everybody likes corn.
Who doesn't?
And I love crunchy hush puppies.
Crunchy, right? Just
you don't want stale ones. You want crunchy hush puppies.
You can get that. And then tomorrow, if you're in town, you're having people to watch the game.
You can get some rib tips, meat dessert.
Meat dessert.
For your entree. They're amazing.
They do sell out, though. That's
they
the
sell
thing.
out, so you got to probably call in and reserve your rib tips.
And if you have rib tips, are you just going to be like, no matter what happens in the game, you're in a good place?
Well, that certainly helps me.
It helps.
You know,
it doesn't dull.
Unfortunately, the rib tips are going to be gone before the game's over.
Yeah, it's 1701 South Texas Avenue in Bryan, without a doubt. The what?
The best barbecue in Texas, which means the best barbecue in the world.
You know that's their trademark.
It's true.
Yeah, it's Fargo's. We're back. TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio, Go Hour, presented by The Warehouse at CC Creations. It is now time, by the way, Billy Liucci is on the hotline. It's time for OB's matchups presented by Bach Realty. Bach Realty Group, brokered by Real, a full-service residential real estate team run by former TexAgs Radio host Gabe Bach and his wife Megan. Megan, Gabe, and their team are ready to help you from luxury to new construction to farm and ranch, first-time home buyers, investment properties, and much, much more. Let Bach Realty Group be the Aggies you trust for all of your real estate needs. All right, so OB and Billy, as I've mentioned, on the hotline as I put him back on. Which matchup do you want to start off with?
I'm going to try to keep all these brief, and so if
Billy wants to
comment, he has plenty of time. So I'll start with the A&M quarterback Max Johnson against the Tennessee pass defense. It's a senior-laden secondary that ranks fourth in the SEC against the pass. They're allowing an average of 192.8 passing yards per game. They've broke up 19 passes, have intercepted 4. I'll take A&M's receivers against just about anybody. You got Evan Stewart, Aniyah Smith, but Max Johnson's got to be protected in the pocket and be able to get the ball to those guys.
Billy, that matchup?
Yeah, I agree 100% with Olin. They got to get the ball to them. I think they're going to get open, and I think the play design is going to get them open. And I think Aniyah has been playing great football. I do feel like Evan is, he hasn't been quiet, but I think he's due for one of those 100-yard games. We've seen him have several of in the past. So, I like A&M's receivers versus those DBs. They got to get Max time, and when Max does have time, he's got to get rid of it and get the ball to him.
OB?
Yeah, and speaking of that, the UT pass rush has produced 22 sacks. We don't know if that is deceiving. They got like 7 against Austin Peay. I think they had 6 against South Carolina.
Yep.
So there, we don't know how legitimate that is, but A&M's only they've given up 7 sacks in 5 games. So that would seem to be an area or a matchup where you got to maybe this week you got a chance to provide better protection for Max.
What do you think about that, Billy?
David, you cut out.
I was saying, what do you think about Tennessee's pass rush and their ability to get, is it 22 sacks?
They've got 22 sacks, but 13 have come against Austin Peay and South Carolina.
Yeah. And Virginia's a pretty horrific football team.
And I think they had 4 against them.
I worry about any pass rush against the Aggie O-line. I do think they've gotten better. Look, they have. There was a bad second half against, like I was talked about, the best pass rush and the best defense and probably the best pass rusher they'll play all year on Saturday. I do think they've gotten better. I think this would be more comparable. How did they do against Arkansas? How did they do against Auburn? So I'm concerned every week of that matchup with the Aggie offensive line. But outside of that, I think they should hold up all right. I really do.
Let's talk about A&M's run defense, particularly the linebackers, because Edgerrin Cooper and Tarian York's playing so well against the Tennessee running game. Tennessee leads the SEC and is number 7 in the nation in rushing offense. They rely heavily on their running backs, Jalen Wright. He's 4th in the SEC in rushing. They've got 2 other guys, Jabari Small and Dylan Sampson, that are both averaging about 6 yards a carry. They've run up and down the field on opponents, but except for Florida. Florida held them to exactly 100 yards rushing, and what do you know? That's the game they lost. A&M's one of among the best. I think they're 9th in the country in run defense.
Yep.
So statistically anyway, it looks like strength on strength, and of course stop the run linebackers are always key.
Okay, well I've got to run after this, and my matchup is you just nailed it. That's the matchup of the game. Can Tennessee run the football against A&M? Those running backs are studs for the balls. They've leaned on that so much more than last year with Hendon Hooker and Jalen Hyatt in that deep passing game. Obviously, the guy from from USC, Brew McCoy's out now for the year, though he was a big part of that passing game. If they can't run on A&M, I don't believe they'll win. I think it's the best ground game A&M's faced this year. I believe in A&M to stop it. If they can, then it becomes the great unknown is, can can Joe Milton complete passes to those receivers who are going to be open? Let's be real. They're going to be open often. Can he get the ball to them under pressure? Because he's only been sacked, 6 times all year? I think that's way more of a byproduct of who they've played against and also the success they've had running the football. It's really easy to play quarterback when you're running the ball, like you said, like 6 yards a pop. So if they can't run, can Joe Milton win a game by himself? And can he avoid pressure the way Milroe did? He got sacked 6 times. So maybe another quarterback gets sacked 10 times in that game Saturday.
Billy, we'll have somebody call you with your pick 6, all right?
Bye, buddy.
Thank
See
you.
y'all.
Safe travels.
See you in Knoxville.
Yep. Billy Liucci on the hotline. We'll continue through, Obi. You got some other matchups you want to get into?
Well, all right. How about A&M cornerback Josh DeBerry against Tennessee wide receiver Squirrel White? Squirrel White, I'm sorry. And look, to be fair, you could say the whole secondary against their receivers, but
he was getting picked on.
And wouldn't you think that Heupel seeing that and say, hey, Alabama picked on him with success, so we're going to pick on him with our best guy, Squirrel White.
Yeah.
Look, squirrels typically want to eat acorns. That's fine. Just don't let them feast on DeBerry. If Josh DeBerry, who again, it could be. Look, he wasn't the only one that got beat last week.
Yep.
I just think it just kind of stood out, and so I think that that Tennessee's going to target him, and they're going to target him with Squirrel White.
Jermaine Burton, by the way, 6 foot-ish, like 195 pounds. I'm looking at Squirrel White, much smaller receiver. He's 5'10", so I mean height isn't, but he's 165 pounds. So he's going to be more of a speedster than a powerful wide receiver that Jermaine Burton seemed to be.
Yeah. But he's their big play guy. Now, they've got some other guys that have maybe more yardage or more a better average per catch, but also have a lot fewer catches. He has almost twice as many catches as anybody else on Tennessee's receiving corps.
Yep. Any last ones?
Yeah, the A&M pass rush against the Tennessee pass protection. Look, Tennessee has given up, 6 sacks allowed all year. Nobody's got – the only team that's got more than 2 or has gotten 2 was Texas San Antonio. I think A&M's pass rush is a lot better. So A&M leads the nation in sacks, 26. Now, here's the kind of a wild card in that. Tennessee just got its starting center, Cade Mays, back from injury.
He played 2 weeks ago, and then he had the bye week, so he should be.
He had a hernia, was trying to recover from surgery, and he played against South Carolina. And, your center makes you better. But is that one guy who's going to make a difference for them? No doubt. Does he make enough of a difference to slow down Shamar Turner and Fidel Diggs and Walter Nolan?
So, if we're going to have questions about the secondary, right, because it's midway through the season and they've been torched on several occasions, then midway through the season, I believe in this rush defense.
I believe in it too.
Doesn't mean that somebody's not going to run for 150, 180 yards because, I mean.
I wonder what, from a numerical standpoint, what success against the Tennessee rushing offense looks like. Is it 125 or less? Does it have to be 100 or less, like Florida held them to? Does it have to?
What's the most somebody's run on A&M this year? 150?
I don't have my around there, and I'm trying to. I think it might have been Auburn, and some of it was garbage.
Yeah.
But I don't have my.
I know that. I mean, it hasn't been always 34 yards like we saw, in the last couple of weeks. But all right, we will come back. OB, when we come back here on TexAgs Radio, we didn't do it to start off the show, but we're going to do 3 things we want to see, brought to you by Brazos Running Company. So we'll do that when we come back. Plus, we'll check in with Nick Savage and Hannah and the whole gang out here on TexAgs Radio. Right now, though, we're talking about the Association of Former Students. Somebody actually emailed the show earlier or texted the show asking, well, hey, is there any kind of fun stuff going on? Yes, there is. If you're headed to Tennessee today or you're already there and we're ready to watch the Aggies beat the hell out of Tennessee, then join the Association of Former Students tonight for yell practice. The association is proud to coordinate yell practices to all the away games to ensure that the Aggie spirit travels on the road, and yell practice tonight will be held 10 p.m. local time, Knoxville Convention Center, room 200 ABC, which is located at 701 Henley Street in Knoxville. Remember, that's 10 p.m. tonight. Bring the family, meet the Yell leaders, join in Aggie camaraderie, and get ready for the Aggies to beat the hell out of the Volunteers. Tickets are not required. Just come out and be part of the Aggie spirit. For more information on Yell practice, visit tx.ag/awaygames. It is TexAgs Radio. We are presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio, Go Hour, presented by the Warehouse at CC Creations. By the way, actually, I'll tell you that in the next segment. There's something about David Gardner's I want to tell you, but I don't have it pulled up here. All right, OB, let's say hi to the people.
Yeah,
we haven't done that. By the way, if you want to be part of the conversation, you can call us, text us, you can do whatever. We were busy with Billy in the first half hour, but we'll open it up to you all at 979-693-1150, 979-693-1150. We go behind the glass. We say hi to Nick Savage. Nick, good morning, buddy.
Howdy, good morning, y'all.
What's up?
Y'all ready to head out to Knoxville?
Yeah.
Well, we won't get there till tomorrow.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we're going today to Chattanooga.
Oh, that's right.
Good town, by the way.
And we don't get there till almost 8 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
And we leave right after the show.
Yeah.
Perfect going out time.
Boathouse Restaurant.
There you go.
Is that where we're going?
Well, that's a suggestion. That's
okay.
all.
I mean, I don't know anything about Chattanooga.
Doesn't close till 10.
Okay.
Maybe 11.
Well, then we're not going to make it if it closes at 10, because if we land at 7:50, we're done. It's over. Maybe Chattanooga's small.
Chattanooga's not real spread out.
Okay.
I think you can get up Lookout Mountain and down before 10 o'clock.
Nick, you've been jamming that new Bad Bunny album that came out last night at midnight?
No, I have not, but
Oh.
I know you certainly have because you walked in playing it. You were playing it in the studio getting ready for the show, and surprised you haven't like played it over the air on the
I don't do
microphone
that.
yet.
That's only
That's a Billy thing?
That's a Billy thing. It's not my thing.
When I think Bad Bunny, the only thing that ever comes to mind to me is that rabbit that's biting people's heads off in Monty Python, The Holy Grail. Now that was a Bad Bunny.
I've never seen that movie.
Well, you
in
should.
fact, I'm willing to bet Hannah hasn't either, and Nick hasn't.
Nope.
Yep.
But I have wanted to watch it because I've seen clips and it
It's
looks pretty
hysterical.
funny. Yeah.
Zero desire to see that.
It's hysterical.
Let me tell you, I'd rather watch paint dry.
Really?
Yeah, sorry.
Okay.
I apologize. Let's go to the Angry Elephant News and Social Center.
I'd rather listen to Paint Dry.
I think that was excessive, David. I think that was a bit.
What?
I think watching paint dry, that's a bit much. I think it'd be okay. OB's had some zingers today anyways, so
Have I?
Yeah, I think so.
What did he say that was a zinger? I'm curious.
Oh, he was talking about
Were they on air or off air zingers?
Both.
Oh, okay.
Both.
Well, let's don't do the
You've
off
We
had
air.
won't
me
share the
laughing
off-air
over
ones.
here. No, those are just for us. Anyways, volleyball and soccer play today. So volleyball is at LSU.
Let's go.
Yes. After a big win against Alabama on Sunday, that was super exciting. Wow, I'm all tongue-tied. And then soccer is going to play Auburn.
Auburn, yeah.
Also wait.
Soccer's the one who beat
gracious,
Alabama. on
Soccer
Sunday.
beat Alabama.
Yeah, I wasn't going to correct you. I was just going to.
No, you should have.
You're right.
Especially because you're the soccer man.
Well, I am the man that does go to the games. That is me.
Anyways.
That was awkward.
That was it. But also with volleyball, Afina Casapaulis, she got named SEC Defensive Player of the Week last week. So that was also something big that volleyball is still celebrating.
You know what I would never be able to do if I played volleyball, which I don't, but
spike
a minute. No, I could do that.
You can jump that high?
Back in the day, I could.
Come on.
Yeah, I could.
Okay.
But I could never. What do they call dig it when they digging it out or what? When they put their.
Did you pass? You dig a pass out?
Well, I'm just saying when someone I see them sometimes they spike it and somebody gets down there and just before it hits the ground they're able to. They call it dig, right? Where they keep it from being.
Yes.
Yeah,
So
I
she
could
would
never.
answer that.
What it would do if I got my hands on it, it'd probably come right back, hit me right back in the face.
I would love to.
I
see that.
respect those volleyball players for that's a tough game.
It's a tough game, and we've got the right coach who's got them going in the right direction. They beat the Mississippi schools over the weekend. Pretty good.
I remember I used to cover volleyball for the Eagle.
Yeah?
Yeah, and I had to explain to Lori Corbelli, look, I don't know anything. So
Just
she would explain to me after the press conference, this is what this stat's telling. Thanks, Coach. I got it from here.
Good thing Hannah's here to help us out with that. Anything else, Hannah?
We have a few texts if you want to get into
Sure.
something.
Yeah,
All
let the
right.
people talk. Let the people branch out and say what they want to say.
Perfect. Okay, so Brad in Brenham, he's saying that we have to make big plays like Bama did to score, obviously, but he wants to see things downfield, receivers battling downfield. Do you think that that's going to give us some more momentum since the energy is going to be super wild since the
They
West
got to
Coast
hit some big
offense?
plays, yes, but can we establish a legit run game?
I think they need to do that. But I think they can hit some big plays downfield, provided they have adequate pass protection.
Yep.
I'll take I'll take Anaya Smith against anybody, and Evan Stewart against anybody. You know, they can get open, but you got to have enough time.
You have to have
to see them.
And not only enough time, I think you just got to get rid of the ball. You got
to get rid of the ball.
You got to design some plays that are going to be quicker. You know, like or have the idea. Look, you got 3 seconds. You don't have 6. You don't have 5. You have 3 seconds. You drop back 1, 2, 3. You don't have it. Move on.
Yeah, one thing I do think the Aggies are lacking here at quarterback is that guy that seems to have the internal clock that tells him, okay, I don't see anybody open. I need to start moving, which makes the defense move too. And it's called extending the play, right?
Yep.
And holes come available. I don't think I want my guy in the pocket for 5 and 6 seconds.
Let's do 3 things that we want to see. It's called Running Our Mouths, brought to you by the Brazzers Running Company, your local Aggie-owned specialty running store where you can find Brooks on Hoka shoes located at Century Square below the Star Cinema Grill in College Station. Give me 3 things.
Suffocating run defense.
Love it.
Choke it out. Look, the one time they didn't
Guillotine
run forward,
or triangle choke,
whatever it takes.
Okay.
The one thing it didn't take, the one team that Tennessee didn't get over 200 yards rushing against, was Florida.
Sorry,
and they lost. They lost bad.
Yep.
Play strong run defense like you have most of the year.
Love it. Okay.
Just an even fiercer pass rush than you saw last week.
Even more fierce.
If they're not having success running, they're going to have to throw. And the best chance you have to stop the pass as an A&M defense is just to harass that quarterback.
I'm worried about that.
Got him under pressure, make him throw inaccurately because he is under pressure. So,
I'm worried about that, though, because I'm sorry, I cut you off, but I'm worried about it because they release the ball so quickly. That is their game plan. It's not like they don't throw deep often anymore. They're trying to get rid of the ball and spread you out as quickly as possible and throw it quickly. And that's why he hasn't been sacked a bunch.
Let's see if they jump some routes.
Mm-hmm.
And then, look, offensively, I'm just going to say it again. Play a clean game and all that entails. Or maybe we know that. So capitalize on your opportunities with touchdowns.
Yes.
TDs, not FGs.
I like the way you think, my friend. I'm going to give you my 3.
I want to hear your 3.
Tackling, okay? I don't want, obviously not Miami. I want to see what we saw against Arkansas and again, like gang tackling, because I think this game might start out the way Miami started out. Not saying the score but I'm saying what Miami did was these short passes we missed and they kept on running.
Get on like a pack of hungry dogs on a Fargo's pork chop, baby.
My God, I saw the visual, and yes, that's exactly what I was thinking. I'm glad you said my words. Scoring. Can we score a little bit, guys? Look, I know they scored 17 in the first half against Bama, but they scored 20 in the game. I care about the 4 quarters, not the half, okay?
That's right.
Can I get some scoring every quarter again? Can I get some 30-point games in the SEC? Because the 20 that we saw against Bama, it's Bama. Okay, cool. That's what we did last year. That was that offense that was not good last year. We brought in Bobby Petrino. We want to feed the studs. Feed the freaking studs.
Feed them. Feed those studs.
You liked it. I got you going there.
I was scored like David Nuño in college.
Shh. High school sweetheart, buddy.
It's a joke. It's a joke.
And my last one. By the way, feeding the studs, I expect them to feed Evan in this game, but I'm going to move on. Protect Max from himself and protect Max. Okay? Max needs to protect himself by getting rid of the ball quickly. All right?
But accurately.
Accurate, yeah, for sure. But there were several times in that, as I know the line was poor, especially in the second half. But there were several times he had time. There were 1, 2, 3. All right, you got to throw, bro. 4. Get rid of the ball quickly. And please do me a favor. Don't get tired. Protect them all game long. I mean, I'm not asking for a lot.
You're not.
It's like 3 meals a day and a bed, like jail. Do that for me. We do good things.
Lock down that pass rush. Max protection. All for it. Maximum protection. Maximus protectionist.
You're on fire right now. I like it.
I had a monster drink before the show.
I can tell. It took a little while to get going, but my God. Maximus
protectionist.
I like it. All right, let's hit a break. OB is going to be doing curls during the break. I guarantee you that. And then maybe we can do a wardrobe change and get yourself a Charge Apparel polo, and you'd be like, yo, what's up?
Except you don't have to do that because you can look. You don't have to be a workout warrior like you are to look good in a Charge Apparel shirt.
You don't have to be. Look, workout warriors look good in oversized shirts and tight shirts. And people like you, OB, who I think are fit, but not like Rocky Balboa fit. More like...
I'm only 1 letter from fit. Unfortunately, it's an A.
Oh,
I'm fat.
no.
I'm fat.
You're like Mickey. Mickey can fight.
I'm like Mickey. You ain't been Hungry Rock since you won that belt. And you ain't looked good, and you don't look good until you get a Charge Apparel shirt.
See? This guy is on fire today with his energy drinks out there. You want to check out Charge Apparel's website, thechargeapparel.com. I am wearing the gray one right now. Oh, there you go. There's the camera. Hey, guys. Wearing the gray one. There's the maroon one. They got the tees. They got the polos, and they fit amazingly. Tucker and Travis are awesome. They met in the Corps here at Texas A&M. They went into the military afterwards. Then they started the Charge Apparel, and 12% of their total sales go to U.S. veterans and mental health initiatives. So you want to make sure, organizations that support them, you want to make sure that you're a part of that. Check them out at thechargeapparel.com. Find them on Instagram, The Charge Apparel, or on X, The Charge Brand. Your buddy Alan Jackson.
Yeah.
Good head of hair.
He could be singing this about you. Gone country.
I have gone country.
See? Look at them boots.
That I haven't gone. I've been told Zach Bryan coming to the area next week. How about that?
Well,
if anybody wants to take me.
I mean, they got a whole town named after him. Why not?
They do.
Why would you want to go to that, David?
Nick.
I think he's fantastic, Nick. I'm sorry that he doesn't fit your metal death that you listen to.
Did you hear David say they do? When I said, what's his name?
Zach Bryan.
Well, what's that town that's right
Brian.
north of us?
I thought you meant Zach, the town of Zach.
Yeah, there may be one.
Remember, there was a rumor in the 90s. You guys won't know this, but Billy will know. And I bet you the McKinney brothers, that Zach Galifianakis, is that his name?
Yeah. That.
Paul whatever the dude, no, the dude from Saved by the Bell. Paul.
Oh, I don't. Oh, Gosler or something like that?
Yes, Mark Paul Gosler. Sorry, yes. That he went to A&M, and I would look for him at every party. Wasn't here. It was a lie. But everybody believed it back in 1996.
A&M needs a major celebrity.
Hello?
Yeah, I mean,
Billy.
No, I'm talking about somebody that is known worldwide. Like Texas has. You don't
Matthew
have to like him,
McConaughey.
but they got him. Right?
We got Rick Perry.
Like I said, we need a major.
We got Bucky Richardson. We do have Johnny Manziel. He is amazing.
But it's
football.
It's a football guy. They need that major guy that everybody knows, and he's always coming to A&M games, and it's A&M apparel.
And it's not Rip, because he's not an Aggie.
Or he can be what? He can be ripped.
No, Rip from Yellowstone.
Oh, it's not Rip. Yeah, he wasn't an Aggie.
He's not an Aggie. Hey, it's time to bank on it. Presented by Vera Bank. Authentic, relationship-based banking built for real life. Go see Joel Jackson and the team. Learn more at verabank.com. Obi, what are you banking on?
You know what? I'm just going to make this short and sweet.
Okay, let's go.
A win. I'm banking on the Aggies winning.
Oh.
It doesn't matter how. I mean, I do think that they're going to get. I do think that they're going to get pressure on the quarterback, and I do think they're going to play good run defense. I know they're going to make mistakes on offense, but I think they're going to minimize them. But you know what? All that, I'm just banking on a win. I think they're going to end that road losing streak.
That ridiculously stupid, dumb road losing streak.
I think I'm banking on it. I believe it.
Okay. Well, I am not going there. I'm going Evan Stewart. It's been a minute. Evan Stewart's going to go off. I'm banking on Evan Stewart going for 120 and 2 scores. Okay. I feel that he was slowed down after the injury in Arkansas, and Bama's got great defense, right? So let's see Evan Stewart do his thing.
I could see Evan Stewart having a big game.
I mean, that's what he does, right?
In any game.
Yeah, in any game. But this game. He's going to reintroduce himself. His name is, you don't know that line, do you?
His name's Evan.
Hove. Never mind.
He's Evan Almighty.
He is Evan Almighty. Yeah. He's going to reintroduce himself to the college football public because I think it's been a few weeks since we've talked about him.
I think it'll be great. I hope he does right there in front of 100,000 orange shirts and rednecks.
They're going to be waiting for you. They're going to be waiting for you.
You know what?
Didn't they throw like batteries at Lane Kiffin?
They threw mustard and golf balls and things.
That seems to hurt.
Yeah, but it was what was it? Colonel Mustard in the stadium with a golf club. But here's the deal: Lane deserved it
because
for what he did,
how he handled that whole entire. Well,
he was calling on the Tennessee issued phones that Tennessee was paying for to tell Tennessee recruits not to go to class at Tennessee. I mean, how man, that's awful.
That is bad.
Diabolical.
That is. Let's go to the Angry Elephant News and Social Center. Let's try to get a text or two in here in the last 48 seconds. Hannah, your mic needs to be on.
For sure,
There we
David.
go.
That would help. What's the tempo of our offense? Is it slower, faster? What do you think that our tempo is going to look like for this game?
In this game, it's going to be faster. I think it's going to be faster. It better be faster than what we saw against Bama.
I think sometimes it'll be faster. Sometimes it won't. Sometimes it will. Sometimes it won't.
So it means it won't. That's basically what you're saying.
Well, no, there will be some.
Every team goes a little fast sometimes, and sometimes they go slow.
I just can't ever count on anything.
Yeah. You're going to stick around for one more segment.
Sure.
And then you're going to come back at the end of the show for Pick 6. Because we didn't do it because we got crunch time.
It's all OB radio. Almost.
You got some work to do before you get back on the show. Chris Lowe from ESPN joining us next.
Good friend.
On TexAgs Radio. Take me to the other side, OB. Little Ryan Bingham. I know you're not familiar, but I can see you jamming that.
Yeah, okay. I'm going to be on the other side of the Tennessee River on Saturday.
A little confused. By the way, TexAgs Radio presented by David Gardner's Jewelers Rollo Insurance Studio. Hour number 2 of the program. We're going to be joined by Chris Lowe here in a moment. But not only did you live in Tennessee, you were explaining to me, because I just don't understand geography sometimes, apparently, 2 time zones in Tennessee. So back and forth.
Right. When you're going to Knoxville from Nashville, I'd say about 30 miles before you get to Knoxville, you cross into the Eastern time zone.
Yeah. All right. Let's go to the hotline. Chris Lowe of ESPN joining us here on the program, a former colleague, or he is a colleague, but a former coworker of Olin's. Chris, welcome to TexAgs.
Thanks, guys, for having me. Appreciate it.
Appreciate you. Hey, let's start things off. You were here in town last week for the game between Bama and A&M. Just what was the vibe like leading up to the game? How confident did you find A&M? And potentially how confident or dejected afterwards?
Very confident. I had a chance to go there Friday and spend a little time with some of the staff, and I think they felt good about their practice that week, felt good about their plan, and had been playing pretty well. And obviously they're playing with a backup quarterback. Now, Max has played more than your average backup quarterback. And talking to some of the staff members, they acknowledge they'd have to call the game a little bit differently. Probably will the rest of the year, because Max and Connor are 2 different types of quarterbacks. But I got the vibe that they were very, very confident, felt good about the matchups going in. And I honestly thought A&M would win. I thought they were probably as good, if not better, and would match up well in the front 7 against Bama's offensive line. And it would be difficult for Alabama to score enough. And I didn't know that Milroe would make as many plays down the field as he did, which is why ultimately I thought A&M would win the football game.
So when you come back away from that, then Chris, and don't spare our feelings, what is your thought as an outsider on what you saw from Texas A&M? Kind of your the book on them from your perspective.
Honestly, it's just that for whatever reason, they're just not ready to win those types of games right now. Now, maybe that changes tomorrow in Knoxville, but just the small things, the things that you go back through that game and giving up some of the 3rd and long completions for touchdowns, those are just things you can't do against a really good football team like Alabama. I think all 3 of his throws for scores were like 3rd and 14, 2nd and 15, 3rd and 9.
Yep.
Those are money downs. You got to win those downs on defense. I thought the tone a little bit was set there when they kicked the field goal on 4th and short there in the first half. I was surprised they did that. That was, again, that's not the reason they lost the football game, but that's one of those things. If you convert there and get the touchdown, maybe that changes the whole complexion of the game.
All right.
And then really the 3rd quarter where A&M gets the pick coming out of halftime, they're ahead by a touchdown, and then they turn around and throw the pick to Alabama. And you talk about a complexion changer, that changed the entire complexion of the game. That's when, if they take that ball and they drive the football in that environment, that was a great crowd. What a great environment for football. And they drive the ball and get points there, and it's a double-digit lead by A&M, I think the game's over. I think they win that football game. Again, so those are 3 or 4 things that they did in the game, in a closely matched game you can't do, even when you're playing at home.
Chris, I have been saying all week, I feel like A&M is 1 game away from this season going 2 different routes. You win this game in Tennessee, I think it can be a real nice season regardless of what happened in Miami and Alabama. You lose this one, then I don't know, man. I don't know if I have the confidence of seeing them win at Ole Miss, confidence of winning at LSU, and then, maybe dropping another one in between.
Yeah, there's 2 things with this team. And again, last year, I guess, shouldn't have anything to do with this year. But this team has struggled to win close games. They did last year. They lost, as bad a year as it was for the Ags. I mean, they go 5-7. They really easily could have flipped that if they could have figured out a way to win close football games, just like the game this last Saturday. And then on the road, I know that's a head scratcher for Jimbo and frustrating for everybody on that staff that they haven't been able to win games on the road, in true road games. Olin, you're the one that pointed this out to me when we talked earlier this week. They've lost 7 straight true road games. And if you're going to have good seasons, 9, 10 win plus seasons, you got to win on the road. That's no revelation. You just got to do that. And I agree. This very much to me feels like a swing game for the Aggies. If they can come into Knoxville and win, then I think it still sets up for them to have a really good season. And someone asked me when I was there back in August, I think it was a fan I ran into at the airport, what do you think constitutes a good season for Texas A&M this year, coming off what happened last year? And I said, honestly, I think it's being there in mid-November, late November, with a chance to win 9 or 10 football games and at least be in the conversation to get to Atlanta. And even though they've lost, now to Alabama, and Alabama's probably in the driver's seat, Alabama's still got some tough games. They got to play Tennessee. They got to play LSU. And granted, those games are at home. But if you can get through this week unscathed, if you're Texas A&M, then you go into the latter part of October, at least with a chance to be in that conversation to be in Atlanta.
So, Chris, Tennessee, what do we make of Tennessee? We know they're 4-1. Are you concerned, or how do you balance an opinion on Tennessee based on how they've looked and then who they played?
Well, I would say A&M has been tested much more than Tennessee has at this point. A&M has played a tougher schedule. Tennessee looked awful at Florida. They played poorly. Florida dominated that football game in the line of scrimmage, which I know was a point of concern for everybody around Tennessee's program, because that's just, if you get beat like that on the road, you can't run the football. You couldn't stop them from running the football. That's always a red flag. Now, they've come back since then and played better. I thought their performance against South Carolina was pretty impressive, winning by 3 touchdowns at home. I don't know how good South Carolina is. I don't think this is as good a South Carolina team as last year. Certainly not as experienced or deep. So I do think A&M comes into this game having played a tougher schedule and probably knowing a little bit more about themselves, what their strengths and weaknesses are, than Tennessee. Tennessee was off last week, which was a good time for them because they had some guys who were banged up. Joe Milton, their quarterback, had not been 100%. He took a nasty shot to the ribs. It was week 2 or week 3 and had not run a bunch. If you go back and watch their last few games, he has not run the football a lot. I think that was part of it. He also got his knee tangled up in that, I think, the UTSA game. So getting him a week off, I think, helped. And getting the other big thing on for Tennessee is getting their center back.
Yeah.
Cooper Mays played last game against South Carolina. He had a hernia surgery before the season, had not played at all until that game. So now he's had a week to get a little bit healthier. And I think that matchup there in the interior with Cooper Mays, Walter Nolan, some of those guys is really key. And, it's interesting. Walter Nolan and Cooper Mays both played high school football in Knoxville.
Yeah.
Cooper played at Catholic High School, Walter at Powell High School. So I would imagine those two will be matched up against each other a few times in this game. And, it's not the only matchup that matters, but I think it's a key matchup depending on who wins this football game. But no, Tennessee, I think, is in the offensive line pretty comparable to A&M. They're not great. They've had their struggles. They've had their issues. They have run the ball pretty well at times. But again, the best team they played, I assume that Florida is better than South Carolina. I guess we find out Saturday because those two teams play. But the better team, or one of the better teams they played, they didn't run the football at all. And this will far and away be the best front seven that Tennessee has played against with A&M. So if they can't run the ball in this game, that puts a lot of pressure on Milton to throw it. And he really hasn't had to throw the football to win a game, or nor has he been throwing the football well enough to win a game when they played at Florida earlier this year.
Chris, I want to follow that up a little bit because I see the numbers, though. Tennessee's given up 6 sacks only this year, 5 for Joe Milton himself. And is that a product of what you just said there? They run the ball so much and maybe quicker throws? Or why has he not gone down as much as some other QBs?
Well, yeah, they throw it quickly. They get rid of the football. They go fast, as you guys know. They've not thrown – they've taken some deep shots, but you go back again to that Florida game, and they got after him pretty good. And Tennessee was not able to run the ball. But, yes, in every other game – and I think the big misconception about Josh Heupel's offense is that they throw it all the time. The reality is they run the football. When they're at their best, they run the ball. I mean, they've averaged either right around 200 or over 200 just about every year he's been here, which is this is the 3rd year. And I think there's a stat out there, guys, if Tennessee runs for 140 or more in a game, they haven't lost under Josh Heupel. So that's what they do is they run it, they spread you out, they throw it wide, and then they'll take a shot down the field. But I think run blocking, guys, is where this team really needs to be good in this game. They've got to be able to run the football, and they've got a deep stable of backs. They will rotate those guys in. There's 3 of them, which is, you get into the third quarter, late third quarter, fourth quarter, they're going to have a fresh set of legs in there, which has worn some teams down this year.
Chris, talk about Tennessee, and if you feel uncomfortable making a prediction, that's fine. But I'm just wondering, what do you think would be more likely for this Tennessee team to go 10-2 or 7-5?
Can I say 8-4? Can I cop out there and say 8-4?
Sure, you can say. You're a guest. You can do whatever you want.
This really, and you guys asked me about A&M and how important this game is for A&M. This is equally important for Tennessee because they lose this game, they still have to play Alabama on the road, they have to play Kentucky on the road, they have to play Missouri on the road, and they've got Georgia coming to Knoxville the last week of the regular season. So you go into that stretch with 2 losses. I think you're looking squarely potentially at 8-4 in the face, and maybe worse if you have a hiccup and get somebody hurt and don't play well on the road in one of those games. So I think probably more likely 8-4 than 10-2. I have a hard time seeing Tennessee getting to 10 wins again this year. They did in the regular season last year. They won 11, which is a tremendous turnaround in year 2 under Josh Heupel. I think that's a lot tougher sledding all in this year to get to 10 wins in the regular season. A lot of new players on this team. It's not the same football team. We all get caught up in it. Media, fans. Well, they ended great last year. Program's on a roll. They're recruiting well. But you know what? They lost Hendon Hooker. They lost Jalen Hyatt. They lost their best pass rush, Byron Young, who's tearing it up right now in the NFL. They lost a lot of good football players. And this year already, they've lost one of their top receivers. Drew McCoy went down. So that's another area where Tennessee is just not what they were a year ago. That's the receiver position as far as guys getting open and making big plays. Hyatt was such a blur. He just ran by everybody last year. They haven't had that luxury this year in the pass game. And I think, again, that's why their margin for error is a little smaller than it was a year ago. To me, this is a great matchup. And when I look at teams when you look at the 3 different areas, just 2 teams, I won't say that their backs are to the wall, but 2 teams who really need to win this football game. Checks that box. 2 teams that I think are pretty comparable in talent. I think A&M's probably a little bit more talented than Tennessee, certainly in the front 7 on defense. But 2 teams that had, I should say, big expectations going into this season. And their fan bases had big expectations that this was a year for different reasons. Tennessee coming off a great year, A&M coming off a poor year, that they would all bounce back and be a team, or one of these teams would be there in November, as I said earlier, with a chance to go to the conference championship. So when I looked at this game back in August, I did not think that A&M would have lost to Miami, and I'm not sure I would have thought Tennessee would have lost to Florida, but I did circle it and say this has got a chance to be one of the better games in the league this year because of all the things I just mentioned.
Chris, I saw you tweeted or retweeted Mike Rodak, and I'm going to read it out loud because I think it's something that we can kind of chew on for a moment. Through the first half of 2023, Jalen Milroe has outperformed Bryce Young's first half of 2022 in completion percentage, passing efficiency rating, yards per attempt, and yards per completion. That didn't feel like that was the narrative going into the A&M game, but it certainly turned out to be true.
Yeah, he's just getting more confident. And there's no question. You watch him, you talk to him after that game. Talk to his teammates. You guys know a lot of times you can tell about a player and where he is confidence-wise and how comfortable he is by talking to the guys that play around him. And when you talk to some of those guys on the offensive line, Jermaine Burton, even Coach Saban, Nick said that there's no question that he is way, way further along than he would have been 2-3 weeks ago, mostly because he's gotten more reps. I mean, you got to look at where that quarterback situation was in August. They didn't have any idea that their quarterback was going to be. They split reps 3 ways among Tyler Buckner, Ty Simpson, and Jalen Milroe. None of the 3 were great. I think Milroe was a little bit better. Second game against Texas, their first real test, he made some critical turnovers. Saban had told the other kids he was going to let them play or give them a chance to play in a game. So he plays those 2 kids the next game against South Florida, and they're awful on offense. So then he goes back to Milroe. So really just in the last 4 weeks has he gotten the full complement of reps in practice and the game. And you've sort of seen him grow from that and seen them use him a little bit differently. They've been smarter in the way what they've asked him to do. And I thought in the game Saturday last week, outside that pick coming out of the second half, and then him choosing to throw the ball there late in the game when all they had to do was kneel it down, he made a lot of big plays. And keep in mind, Bama couldn't run the ball, so they didn't help him any in the run game. A lot of it was on his shoulders. He had to throw the ball and make plays down the field, and he did that. So if he continues to grow at that clip, then Alabama's going to be a load here in the next 2, 3, 4 weeks, whoever they play.
Yeah, we were kind of hoping Buckner would have played, but that's the A&M way.
Hey, Chris, we appreciate your time, man. Thanks so much for doing this. Let's do it again.
Thank you, Chris.
You guys travel safe, okay?
Thank you, sir.
See you.
Appreciate you.
See you guys.
OB, as we close it out, and I know you're going to be back on the show in the last hour, that stat that he said, Josh Heupel undefeated.
140.
And we had talked about that being a number for
What's
this
the
game.
number? So that's the number.
So
keep him on 140 rushing yards.
Yeah. Can you keep him to 120?
I think they might can. By the way, Chris is a great guy.
Yeah.
He's a great guy.
He's
I appreciate him doing this for us.
He does great work too. Awesome work. OB, I appreciate your time, buddy.
You bet.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's take a little break here. When we come back, we're going to actually go to our interview there with Laura Rutledge from Up to the Second College Football. If you haven't watched it, we're going to run it so you can hear it. And after that, my interview with Gary Danielson, you'll certainly like that one. So we have a bunch of stuff planned for you here in the remaining part of the show. Right now, though, we're talking about F3. You got to work. OB's a workout guy. I'm a workout guy. Billy's a workout guy. Bronny's a workout guy. Attention, F3 Aggie Land is launching its newest location in College Station at Jack and Dorothy Miller Park, adjacent to Rock Prairie Elementary. Come out on Saturday, October the 21st, 6:30 a.m. to 8 a.m. for a free workout. F3 Aggie Land is free of charge and open to all men of all fitness levels. F3 is always held outdoors, rain or shine, and peer-led boot camp style workout with some of the nicest dudes you'll ever meet. Come join them and enjoy a free breakfast and coffee afterwards. Set your alarm and bring a friend on Saturday, October 21st, to Jack and Dorothy Miller Park at 6:30 a.m. For more information, check out the Facebook page or check out f3aggieland.com. That is f3aggieland.com. All right, we're back. TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers Rollo Insurance Studio. So here's the rundown for the remainder of the program. By the way, our thanks to Chris Lowe. We're going to run our interview with Laura Rutledge from Up to the Second College Football. After that, Gary Danielson joining the program. We'll have Steve McKinney in studio for the final hour of the show, and OB will join us for Pick 6 and beyond. So we'll do that here at the end of the program. But as I mentioned, Laura Rutledge actually, you can catch her on almost any program on ESPN, covers the NFL for them, obviously does SEC Nation. Here's Laura Rutledge from Up to the Second College Football. Our next guest does it all at ESPN, NFL, SEC, college football, you name it. She's all over the place, and she'll be in Knoxville this weekend as A&M and Tennessee square off. Laura Rutledge joining the program. Laura, how are you?
I'm great. Thanks for having me.
So I told you I wanted to talk initially about this Wembley Stadium experience for you. I got to go a few years back. It was amazing. How was that experience for you? Watching the NFL abroad there with a bunch of Brits who are starting to slowly get into the game.
Yeah. I mean, it's just one of those bucket list pinch me moments for sure. And having done a game there last year as well, I sort of knew what to expect this time, to the point that I feel like I could enjoy it a little bit more and appreciate it. And I mean, it's just so cool when you walk up to iconic Wembley and you see the stadium and you see just every single NFL team represented, some college teams represented. I actually was down on the field and looked up and saw a Florida Gators shirt on a woman. And I was like, okay, that, I didn't expect to see that either. But it's just really fun. There's this buzz throughout the entire game when you're in Wembley. And I think it never gets quiet. It's always kind of loud, and there's just like constant noise, and it feels different. It feels special. And I'm just truly thankful to be able to go out there and have that experience. London is becoming one of my favorite cities for sure.
How hard is it for you to prep for both? I know people do it, but it's difficult to know the SEC in and out and also the NFL during the same time in the same week with a broadcast on Friday and Saturday. And, I'm sure it's crazy.
Yeah. I mean, my brain is scrambled eggs, I think, most of the time. I'm like, okay, wait, we got to compartmentalize and keep some things over there and some things over here. But I think one of the things that helps me is you can, doing the NFL every day, I can sort of know things kind of throughout the week. I'm always covering it. I'm doing that show daily with NFL Live. So I think there's more of like a working knowledge there all the time. And then it allows me to find like little pockets of time, usually when I'm at work, when I'm not at home, with the chaos at home. So when I'm at work, I'll try to start working on SEC Nation throughout the week. And, it's a matter of trying to like make every moment count. And there's not a lot of downtime. I'm always like, it's funny. My mom always says like, I only have time for every single thing in the day. Like there can't be an extra thing that's added or there's just no time for it. But I always remind myself too, in the craziness, that, this is beyond my wildest dreams of what I ever thought I would be doing. So I am very thankful, and that helps sometimes with some of the prep.
Laura, let's talk about A&M. They lost a heartbreaker to Alabama, a game that they were leading. Ooh. They have to go to Neyland Stadium now and take on a Tennessee team that's been waiting. I feel like this game for both programs is a fork-in-the-road moment. So talk to us how big it is for both of them, considering what's ahead in the SEC.
Yeah, I think you said that really well. This is sort of the game now with what's happened for both these teams, but maybe even more for A&M, where you sort of figure out, okay, what's the rest of the season going to be? I mean, I still think the SEC West is potentially going to end up being this like cannibalistic situation, and you never know what can happen, right? And A&M's chances certainly to make the postseason and potentially go to the playoff, those may be diminished, right? But I do think that they can still contend and they can still finish the season strong. They're still such a talented team. You saw that on display. I mean, that's why it's got to be so incredibly frustrating for Aggies fans, because we saw it against Alabama. It felt like a winnable game for them in so many ways. Alabama made a ton of mistakes and yet, still not able to get it done. I mean, the fact that they're doing this too with essentially a backup quarterback who's looked really good, in my opinion, overall, is really impressive. So I do think going on the road adds a unique element. It is so loud in Neyland. You guys know that. I mean, it's just one of the craziest environments. But I think A&M's the better team, and that's where I think we're going to really find out, what they're made of. I mean, that now is time to buckle down here and get something going. And Josh Heupel teams, even though they're not what they were last year, certainly Tennessee, but they're well coached and they're going to be ready for this one, like you said.
Laura, is it fair to say A&M, as good as they are talented-wise, are maybe still a mystery team because of their secondary?
I think so. That's obviously the glaring hole. And the D-line has been so good. I mean, there are so many positives. A lot of times, you can sort of mask a secondary issue if your front seven is pretty good, and they are, right? But I do think, unfortunately, there is a recipe for how to beat them, right? And if you can execute that, which Tennessee can, not like they could have last year, and I don't mean to keep referencing that, but I do think it's important for fans to remember, like, last year was a totally different year for Tennessee. They are not, that team for sure. So they're going to try some things, I think. And look, I mean, if you know that, which A&M does, they're going to try to take shots, whatever you can do to disrupt the quarterback, they need to do. I mean, Milton is not the most accurate quarterback, as we know. So I do think there are some ways to affect him. And that, to me, is going to be the recipe for success for A&M if they're going to win this one on the road.
Am I living in the moment, or does it feel like, yep, Bama figured it out? Here we thought that they're going to have an off year. Their defense is amazing, and Jalen Milroe's freaking Joe Montana out there throwing darts to everybody. They figured it out, right? Or is it just a one-time thing?
I don't know. I mean, I just hate it for A&M fans because it's like, golly, of course, we couldn't get Alabama when Texas got them, right? But anyway, they have figured some things out for sure, right? And I think you're right. The defense has looked a lot better, and you kind of see why Nick Saban wanted Milroe to be the quarterback from the get-go and wanted to get the most out of him, because that athleticism was on display. There was the one play where he scrambled and ran for chunky yards, and I thought, okay, that's what it is right there. And we know he's got that in his game, but you didn't feel like he was comfortable enough in what he was doing in the offense to really feel like he could go and do that and create. And certainly they'll have design quarterback runs throughout the rest of the season, but I think the ability to, when a play breaks down, to have that electric ability to run makes such a difference, as we all know. So I think they figured some things out. I still think Georgia's the best team in the SEC and potentially the best team in the country, because they also look like they figured some things out against Kentucky. It was almost like poor Kentucky, because they're a good team, but it was not conducive to get Georgia after they had barely escaped Auburn and, wanted to come out there and make some sort of big old statement at home. And that's exactly what they did. So I think Alabama, though, is knocking on the door of potentially breaking out. But again, to reference the SEC West, like I did before, A&M's still a really strong contender in the West. You've got LSU that you got to think about, which they've disappointed, but they're still a really good team. So I think it's interesting. None of these teams in the top of the West make me think, oh, they're just going to have an off day and look terrible. I think they're all contenders, and they're all teams that nobody wants to face.
You mentioned one right there in LSU, and they had that fork in the road moment last week against Missouri, but it feels to me that Jaden Daniels has to play Heisman-esque for them to continue to win. Am I right?
You're right. And I hate it for them, because I do think they have a national championship level offense, but their defense just leaves so much to be desired. And, to be basically last week, I mean, they've played at least 3 different defensive schemes throughout this year. They just cannot figure it out, and they're still trying, and they did some things against Missouri, but, Missouri's good, but that was a back and forth battle on the road that, LSU was lucky to escape with a win there too. So I think they're going to look back on this season and unfortunately feel like they wasted an offense and wasted some of the talent that Jaden Daniels has, but yet still, again, they're scary, because even defensively, the schematically hasn't been great, but they have some talent there. It's just it's odd, because all the DBU stuff, their secondary is a problem too, in a big way.
All right, let's close out with Arkansas, because I really like Sam Pittman, and they're staring 5 losses straight in the face this weekend against Alabama. So, does he have enough grace there, you think, to survive this stretch?
I think so, and I hope so. I'm with you. I think Coach Pittman's one of the greatest, and I think it's tough because, a lot of people are like looking at this year and they say, well, KJ Jefferson's back. You got Rocket Sanders as the running back. The defense is, palatable, at least a little bit better than last year. Their secondary is a problem too. That seems to be a theme with some of these teams that are losing. It makes sense. But and I hate to make excuses for Arkansas and for Pittman, but every year they have the most difficult schedule. I mean, it's just like death taxes in Arkansas's schedule is going to be terrible. So I don't know if Arkansas fans are willing to continue to give him that pass. I mean, it's a very proud program, a proud fan base, as we know. But yeah, they have not at all lived up to the billing. I think one of the problems in going into the season, we wondered about this. They didn't really have any, other than Rocket Sanders, any proven weapons at the wide receiver position that you felt like, oh, okay, we could really rely on this person. They didn't have a lot of that. And also I think, the defense again has given them trouble, but I hope they'll continue to give him, they love him there. But they're also a fan base that thinks they should be winning a lot more than they are. So that one's a tough one.
Laura, we love your work. Thank you so much for joining us. Let's do it again.
Yeah, I love it. Thanks so much, Hope.
All right, Laura Rutledge there on Up to the Second College Football. Go subscribe to TexAgs on YouTube so you can get all those great interviews that we do that don't always appear here on TexAgs Radio. Let's talk Heritage Films right now. That's my buddy Chance's company, and yeah, I say he's my buddy. I've told you guys many times I don't like doing business with friends because it doesn't work out well. Like, hey, man, you told me this car was going to be great. And, that happens, right? Like, let's be honest. But when it comes to, like, storytelling, that's something you can trust people with if they're good. And Chance is the best at it. He's an artist. He's creative. He does it all. And with Heritage Films, he can tell your family's documentary. He can tell that story in a Netflix-style way. He is just second to none when it comes to telling people stories. I love what Chance does, and I think you will certainly love what he does as well. You do family business, family ranch, family outings. Could be just your buddies hanging out, whatever it may be. 3-on-3 basketball tournament, have Chance there, eye in the sky, tell that story. Maybe the training towards it, and then bam. Okay, maybe it's golf, maybe it's chess, whatever it may be. Chance can do that. He also does the year flicks, which are these 20-minute vignettes, if you will, or 20-minute videos, Q&A with your kids, right? It could be, your daughter in college, freshman year at A&M. You wanted to kind of document Q&A form that first year, that second year, that third year, and that fourth year, make it 4-part story, right? That you can do that with Chance and the year flicks that he has on Heritage Films. The website is yourheritagefilm.com, yourheritagefilm.com, 713-893-8341, 713-893-8341. Moving along here on TexAgs Radio. Appreciate everybody listening in here on a Friday morning, October the 13th, 2023, as we get ready, the crew here, to head out to Tennessee after the show. We will be going out there. Somebody else who will be in Tennessee is Gary Danielson. I got to catch up with him earlier this week, and we saved it for the Friday version of the show. So here's my interview with CBS's Gary Danielson. All right, for 2 weeks in a row, Texas A&M getting that 2:30 CBS game Central Time. Gary Danielson is the lead analyst for CBS Sports College Football Game of the Week, and he'll be on the call alongside Brad Nessler and Jenny Dell this Saturday, 3:30 Eastern, 2:30 Central, when Texas A&M travels to Knoxville to take on Tennessee. And Gary Danielson is with us here on TexAgs Radio. Gary, good. How are you, sir?
I'm doing great. It was a really interesting football game last week, highly competitive. It obviously could have gone either way, and those are the type of games we love to do, watching great athletes and unbelievable situations, and the atmosphere was second to none. So it was a fun game to do. Probably not the right outcome for you guys, but it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, the outcome was sour, but I guess the hard part for A&M fans is that here we go again. You got an opportunity to seize a moment, and you're not able to. And, of course, it's Alabama who, all indications they were supposed to be having a down year. It doesn't look like they're having that down of a year anymore, Gary.
Well, let's be honest. Nobody would have dreamed, and we've all watched them play, and we've done a lot of work. Jalen Milroe played a great football game. If he doesn't play that well, there's no way that Alabama's going to win that football game, but you can't. You can only control what you can control, and there was a lot of things that A&M could have done better, but I think the game that Milroe had, and I think also, Alabama finally did themselves to putting the right receivers on the field. I felt they were playing too many different players, and once they settled on a couple guys, Bond and Burton, they started making plays, and that's what happens. That's why you play the games. But the wild card was Milroe. He just had an outstanding game.
Well, let's move ahead to this Tennessee game, and I look at this as a huge game for both programs, not only for where we are in the season, but the two roads they will take afterwards. If A&M gets their third loss, it kind of changes the entire kind of story that this early. And for Tennessee, getting a second loss this early with really their only second real test.
Yeah, this is a high stakes football. This is what it's like. I did it for years in the NFL. People in the real world, what they love about sports is fun to watch unless it's your team and they're not, living up to the expectations. It is all about expectations. And, A&M has a really good football team, but you've got to produce. And in college football, it's not like the NFL or even, baseball or basketball where you can withstand a few losses, still make the playoffs and have a great season. For the high-end teams, the Alabamas, Georgias, Texas A&M, USC, Michigan, you can name them just as good as I do. Success is measured at a really high level, but it's for both teams. When you're in a business relationship, somebody's going to sell a piece of land and somebody buys a piece of land. Both people end up being happy with the transaction. The guy who sells it is happy. He thinks he did well. The guy who bought it is happy. But in sports, we know right after the transaction, one's not happy and one is happy. And that's the tough part. The A&M team it's got a really good team. A lot of good players and have put in a lot of good hard work to get to the level. But you still got to win it. There's breaks that go into it. There's outside influences of referees, bad bounces. And right now, A&M has a good team, but you're right. One more loss and the season's going to look like not living up to expectations, and that's tough to take if you're an A&M fan.
So obviously this is a different Tennessee team with Joe Milton at quarterback and different wide receivers, obviously, with the injury to Brew McCoy. So tell me what you've seen from Tennessee this year. What makes them a dangerous team?
Yeah, you're right. Their wide receiver triumphant is not where it was a year ago, especially when Tillman was healthy. Jalen Hyatt was a great player, and Herndon was playing at a really high level. Joe has been nicked a little bit. He does have a big arm, but everything is not folded together yet for Tennessee. They run the ball well on offense. They've got good receivers. They don't have, difference makers yet at receiver that people have to defend or change their defense for. The strength of their team is they've got a unique offense that stretches a defense. And we know A&M struggles in their secondary. So that's going to be an area that Tennessee will probably attack. But just like A&M, the other strength is their front 6 or 7 players that rush the quarterback. So it's going to be an interesting contrast. And I probably figure the same thing is going to happen in this game that just happened. I was kidding with our people just to kind of step aside a little bit as we prepared for the game. I go, I could almost use the open I did last week for this week because it's basically the same football game. Whichever offensive line allows the quarterback to play at a top level will probably win this game. So both fronts are extremely good, and whichever offensive line has trouble or the most trouble for the whole game probably will be in the difference in the game.
Well, that was the thing that struck me about this past game, and we knew this coming into it, how the A&M does in the trenches will determine the success that they have this year. They had played pretty well until that second half against Bama. What have you seen from their line this year outside of that second half?
So, listen, it's not for me. I understand the complexities of putting together a game plan, and I can critique it from afar, but I wasn't part of it, day in and day out. I thought that A&M needed to throw a little more short, quick, crisp passes, wide receiver screens, tunnel screens. I just felt that they were putting a little bit too much pressure on their offensive line, especially in the second half. And, I think there's ways that they could have attacked Alabama so that front 7 wasn't giving their offensive line, especially the 2 edge rushers, as much problems. But they couldn't get it done. I think it's going to be even more apparent in this game because Tennessee will try to negate the pass rush for A&M with their quick spread passing game. And if A&M can hold up and take that away, the difference in this Tennessee team that is different from a year ago is Hendon Hooker was a good runner out of the pocket. Joe Milton is not a great runner. So they have to rely on their running backs. Last week, Jalen Milroe was a threat and it probably affected the A&M coverage a bit. I don't think that that's as big a threat this game. So there's a lot of different ways it can go, but none of it's easy. We went at halftime and thought A&M had all the answers, and it found out that they didn't have all the answers in the second half.
Gary, I assume with A&M being on CBS as often as they have been over the last few years, you probably got a big highlighter covering the name Ainias Smith. Just talk about what he brings to Texas A&M every year.
So we got to meet with Ainias, and you're right. It was tough for him to go through that injury last year, but he's the modern player that everybody's looking for. A guy that can do it all from his position. Obviously, he can still play running back if he had to, but I think that's the one position that the A&M needs to continue to circle to make it easier for Max Johnson. He's a big weapon, and then that'll open it up for Evan Stewart and the other receivers. But I think you're right. That's another area that I think A&M, if they had to do it over again, and I was saying it during the game, they're struggling, so they have to start thinking players. And I think they got to find more and more ways to get the ball to Ainias Smith. Now, he was open for a touchdown, and Max was a little late getting it to him, and it ended up being a big play for Alabama. But if I'm starting my game plan, just like Alabama made Jermaine Burton the pressure point, I would make Ainias Smith the pressure point of this game.
No doubt about that. Let's talk about Max Johnson for a moment. He's had some really big moments for A&M this year, and he's had some lower moments. How would you assess his play?
I think Max is a tremendous competitor, and he understands, what to do and how to run the offense. He doesn't have as quick a trigger in my mind as Connor did, and to me it slows down the offense just a bit. So I think he has to be quicker with his decision making, maybe a few more pre-snap decisions, and get the ball out of his hands to help his offensive line. He's an extremely proud football player, and football is really important to him. He's going to be coached hard this week. I think we're going to see a lot of improvement of the timing in his passing game this week.
Gary, let me ask you just a couple of SEC questions. How do you think Texas and Oklahoma will adjust to life in the SEC, at least in the initial couple of years?
Yeah. I think it's going to be really fun. I'm really sad to leave the league. You know, I mean, I've had a great job doing these games. You know, our games every week are tremendously competitive with high consequences. Texas and Oklahoma are really good teams. A lot of people were saying that Oklahoma was going to walk into the league and be a disappointment. Well, they've rebuilt really quickly here, it looks like, and then, you know, they'll fit in really nicely. Nothing will be easier, but all the pressure, not all. The pressure is part of playing in the SEC. It's like the NFL. I mean, every game is a tough game, but part of the pressure will be toned down for the fan bases because of the 12-team playoff. You'll be able to lose a couple games and still get in the playoffs, and I think that'll make it more realistic for these programs going forward. And I guess that's what A&M fans are, you know, really not upset, but I mean, just thinking of a missed opportunity. You know, they had that game ability to beat Alabama at home and take this final West Division. They've got a team that was good enough to win it, and now they're dependent on somebody else losing games for them to get into it. But I think Texas and Oklahoma are going to find out what it's like to tee it up every week with people of equal or almost equal talent.
Well, Gary, that tees me up for my last question for you. It feels like, at least at this point, here we go again, Atlanta, Georgia, Alabama, at least the way things feel right now.
Hard to argue against that. Alabama's getting better. They still have weaknesses. It's, you know, they have weaknesses, but it looks like they're improving each week. They're probably the team to beat.
That is Gary Danielson. He'll be on the call this weekend as A&M goes to Knoxville to take on Tennessee, 2:30 Central Time here, local time in Texas. Gary, I appreciate your time. Hope to do it again at some point.
You got it. Thank you.
Appreciate that conversation there with Gary Danielson. We need to hit a break and around Aggieland coming up next. Right now, we're talking Caldwell Country Chevrolet, Highway 21 in Caldwell, online at caldwellcountrychevrolet.com. Ready for a car? I know you are. If you're not, you will be. At some point, we all gonna need a car. Like it is how it rolls. It's like cell phones, cars. You got to get the new ones. And if you are in the market now, or maybe later on, or maybe you've got a kid who's about to start driving or needs an upgrade, you need to look at Caldwell Country Chevrolet, especially online to start your search at caldwellcountrychevrolet.com. You go there, you'll find the great prices, the vehicles, and just kind of get a feel for what they have on the lot. And then when you go to the lot, boom, customer service #1, car experience, buying experience, amazing. You'll get a great trade-in value, you'll get great customer service, and you will get the car that you're looking for. I can highly recommend it because I've done it. Billy's done it. R.C. Slocum's done it. Dante Hall's done it. A bunch of other folks around this town have done it, and they're a proud supporter of Aggie Athletics, which makes them awesome. So make sure you check them out. It's not that far of a drive. We're talking 15 minutes, the very edge of Bryan to the very edge of Caldwell, but you'll see the difference when you step on the lot and do business with the good people there at Caldwell Country Chevrolet. Highway 21 in Caldwell and online, caldwellcountrychevrolet.com. We are back, TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. Time for Around Aggieland, which is presented by Normandy State Bank. Normandy State Bank, rock solid banking. The website, normandystatebank.com. The quick drinker, Kay Nagley.
Don't do me like that, David.
What?
Because I'm not.
You did it like in a minute something.
That's not good. I was so disappointed in myself. Trust me,
You did it in less than 90 seconds. That's right? Am I wrong? Less than 90 minutes.
I don't know what my exact time was because I honestly didn't ask because I was like, I don't want to know. I'm just such a competitive person. I was like, yeah, we're just going to, that's over with. And I'm glad it's over with. Anyways, A&M football looks to get back in the win column this weekend as they venture to Knoxville to face number 19 Tennessee in front of what should be a rowdy checkerboard crowd at Neyland Stadium. That action will be on CBS with kickoff at 2:30. Volleyball will end its three-match road stint at LSU today with first serve set for 8 p.m. and then they will be back here on Sunday to take on South Carolina. That is set for 2 p.m. Soccer looks to get one step closer to earning a share of the SEC Western Division title as they will travel to Auburn today for a 6:30 p.m. match. And then men's golf is also playing starting today, facing a challenging course in the elite field when the Aggies teed off at the Golf Club Georgia Collegiate Invitational. And then cross country also getting some action this week. So a lot going on.
Ring wrap looks good.
Thanks.
Done it?
Shout out David Garner.
Go check out our friends at David Gardner's, all right? They're the best. Thank you, Miss K.
Of course.
I just did a Miss K first time ever, right?
Yeah.
I usually do
voice
like a game show. When we come back, it's kind of the final countdown. Steve McKinney's in studio. Just us. Next, TexAgs. All right, we are back. TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. I told Steve McKinney as he walked into the studio, we're going to actually get stuff done on this program today because there's no nonsense. It is just two professionals. President Steve McKinney with us. Hello, sir.
Very professional here. I keep my commitments, you know.
You do?
I say, I'm going to do this show on Fridays with you guys, and here I am showing up. Some people are out playing golf. Some people are, traveling, probably sleeping.
Probably,
in Knoxville. But
now
here we are working.
We are going to work, and we're going to break down the team. So it's always interesting because a loss casts a huge shadow, right? So you lose to Bama, and as much as I want to be thinking about Tennessee, as I think about Tennessee, I've got this Bama vision in my head about the things that just seem to go wrong for this team all the time.
Still can't let it go.
I can't.
I know. I understand. I mean, as a fan, I get it, because I get the same way sometimes. I know. But here's what you got to remember as a player. It's 24 hours. It's
You're done.
Done. Like, you're not even thinking about Bama at this point. You weren't even thinking about them Monday.
But can you hold on to some of the anger that you
should
have?
What happens when you lose a game like that you should have won, that you had multiple opportunities to win, and just didn't make the plays. Now, credit Bama, they made those plays.
Mm-hmm.
They made plays when they needed to win the game. We had some bad breaks. We had some things that we caused mistakes. We had some things that are just, referees getting in the way, toes tapping at the 2-yard line, just little things, holding calls. It was one of those games that was frustrating, and as you look back on it, it's good that it was frustrating, because when have we ever gone into a game against Alabama and lost that closely, and we're upset because we felt like we got upset?
Yep.
Never. It's never happened. So, I think we need to just kind of step back, take stock in where the program is. I know everybody's frustrated, and I get it. However, we have built a roster and a program that can go compete with the very best in the country week after week. Now, we got to win. We got to start winning those games. And this Saturday is a perfect opportunity to take a step in the right direction and put that game behind us.
Well, I want to bring up the offense for a moment, because here's what frustrates me. This is supposed to be a down Bama team. Didn't look like a down Bama, okay?
They didn't look real down.
Right?
No.
And I know they were up at the half, whatever. It's a 4-quarter game. It's supposed to be a down Bama team. Offensively, we were supposed to be clicking. We're supposed to be this offensive team now, right? Since SEC play has started, they have not been an offensive team. In fact, with Zach Calzada, you score 41 points. And Zach had his issues. Last year with Haynes, I think the offense looked better than it did last week against Bama. Again, I know it was a really good first half, and they shot themselves in the foot, but I'm sick of saying that, man.
Yeah. I mean, and we talked about it last week. I mean, we all have our doubts with this offense right now, simply because they haven't put together 4 quarters. And they just haven't. I mean, maybe against, some of the real lesser competition, but against Power 5 teams, and especially in the SEC, we haven't done it but for 2 quarters at a time. And you're just not going to win consistently in this league, especially against teams as talented as Alabama, if you can't show up in the 4th quarter. You don't win games in the first half against good teams. You win them in the second half. And we didn't come out with the same intensity in the second half. I mean, you could see it. You could see it on the field. I mean, Bama came out. They're like, we didn't play our best in the first half. We're going to kick their butt in the second half, and that's what they did.
So when it comes to the offensive line, and look, I have my concerns about the offense, because the bottom line is the points you score. And I don't care how they come. If defense helps, especially the points you score matter, in these games. When it comes to the offensive line, this is how I saw it. But you study lines. You know lines. I saw the line struggle, get tired at the end of the game. I also saw a quarterback who put the line in bad spots by holding on to the ball too long. So give me your assessment of the way they played.
All right. First of all, did the offensive line break down at times? Sure. Absolutely. But they were also going against one of the best defensive lines in the country. People act like we were playing, a nobody, that we should just block them and give Max 3-4 seconds every pass play, especially dropbacks. They weren't even, half of them weren't even play actions, just drop back passes. Very few offensive lines are going to hold up against that defensive front for more than 2.5 seconds. You should have been dialing up plays, especially early on in the 3rd and early 4th quarter, where they're getting the ball out of your hands quick.
Yep.
I didn't understand why we kept going back to run plays. We ran the ball almost every first down in the second half. for 2 yards, 2 to 3 yards. I mean, why? Mix it up. Throw the ball on first down. Give your offensive line a chance instead of only throwing the ball on 2nd and long, 3rd and long, where the defensive line can tee off more. So I didn't necessarily love how the game was called in the second half, because I think you put your offensive line and your quarterback in tough spots by doing that. You know, and some of it was not offensive line. Some of it was running backs missing blocks, causing pressure. The interception, that's on the running back. You know, he didn't get on his guy. He pressured him. Max has to throw off his back foot, puts it 6 inches too far to the left, and it gets picked off. Great play by Alabama, but that's a running back. You know, in the end of the game where you get the sack, safety, you got guys tripping over each other.
Right.
You know, that happens. It's rare, but it does happen. It just happened to happen at like the worst possible time in the worst possible scenario. But at the same time, I look at that and go, okay, yeah, hey, quarterback, help us out here. You know, we screwed up. You know, don't just sit there and take the sack. Get rid of the ball. Throw it away. Do something. Don't just stand there. It seemed like he wasn't necessarily feeling the pressure. Like he was so dialed in downfield,
yes,
watching the plays develop, that he just didn't have a good sense or feel of the pressure to know, got to get rid of it, got to throw it away, got to do something, dump it off. So you see quarterbacks do that all the time. Some of the best quarterbacks in the NFL, Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, those guys don't take sacks. They're under pressure constantly. They know exactly where their dump off is. They got this clock in their brain that tells them exactly when to get rid of it or throw it away. Play the next play. Don't take a sack. So, those are things we got to work out and get better at. But, you can't put everything on the offensive line. Yes, they need to play better. Max needs to do better getting rid of the ball, seeing plays develop quicker, processing quicker, and getting rid of the ball quicker. And running backs, they got to step up. I mean, the running backs need to freaking block their men, because go back and look at some of our games and the pressures that we've had on the quarterback. I guarantee you the running backs are the cause of half of them. It's not just the offensive line. So, everybody's got to get better up front protecting the quarterback.
Are you a bit surprised that this offense isn't more creative? Like, it doesn't
Yes.
feel like last year, but it does at times, right?
Yeah, no, I'm with you on that, David. It is a little bit shocking. You got so much freaking offensive brain power on that staff between Jimbo and what's his name, Chan Gailey,
Jim Chaney.
Jim Chaney, yeah. Why did I say Chan Gailey?
The old Cowboys coach.
And then Petrino. Those are some serious offensive minds. And you're right. There's just no creativity. I did like the touchdown play to Jake Johnson.
Yep.
That's the kind of stuff I would expect from that room. A lot. Like, not just once a game. I would expect that once a series. You're just not seeing it. I don't think they're using motion enough.
No.
And again, I go back to the running the ball on first down. I think it was like 8 out of 10 first downs in the second half. And it's just kind of like, I'm sitting up there kind of scratching my head going, dude, we got to mix it up. We can't just run the ball every first down for 2 yards. That front, you're not going to beat Bama running the ball against them. Everybody knows that. I don't care if it's a down year, whatever you want to call it. That front seven's still one of the best in the country.
But, and we talked to Billy about this, the roller coaster, the pendulum, whatever you want to call it. 1 or 2 plays changes the entire way we look at the season, man.
Oh,
like,
I know.
It's like, if they win this weekend, all right, we got a couple losses we're not proud of, but now we think we can go on the road and beat these teams.
Mm-hmm.
But until they do it, there has to be doubt.
How could you sit here and be comfortable of them going into Knoxville in front of 100,000 people against a good football team and coming out of there with a win? What have they done in the last 6 years to prove to you that they're capable of doing that?
Have you heard the stat?
I know they haven't beaten a ranked team on the road since Jimbo's been here. I do know that stat.
2014.
2014, that's the last time they beat a ranked team
on the road.
That's
ridiculous.
You're not going to win much in the West if you can't win, because you're going to play ranked teams on the road.
Mm-hmm.
There's too many ranked teams in the SEC. If you can't win against good teams on the road, you're not going to win anything meaningful.
This is what A&M does have going for them, though, in this game. I don't think Tennessee's played anybody. Maybe that doesn't matter. So I was on a Tennessee radio show yesterday, and they asked me, and I was like, look, guys, not to be rude about Tennessee. It's not about Tennessee. It's about A&M. If A&M does what they're supposed to do, they win this game. They just don't do what they're supposed to do often enough.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think that's fair. When we're clicking, we're unstoppable. We have a roster that's as good or better than anybody in the SEC. It's as good as Alabama's. It's as good as Georgia's. Probably better than LSU's, minus the quarterback position, because I think Daniels is pretty good. But we should be able to go into Tennessee and beat them if we play like we're capable of playing. Now, here's what I don't know. Only thing I can tell you is that as a former player, after a game like that, you're very frustrated because you felt like you let one get away, and I know they felt that way. And you set your jaw, you come out Monday and you practice your butt off, and you have a great week of practice, and you go with the mindset that we're going to Knoxville and we're gonna make up for that and then some by playing like we're capable of playing. I have no idea what the mood was like at practice this week. I just can tell you how I would feel after a game like that and what I would expect the team to react and go out, because you're gonna play like you practice. It's a fact. So if they had a great week of practice, if they were able to have that mindset of, we know we screwed that one up, we're not doing that again, then I think you might see a different team. I just hope if they come out fast, kind of like they did against Miami, do we have the maturity, do we have the willpower in that locker room to maintain that for 4 quarters?
So let's go to preseason Steve right now. What your mindset would have been had I told you without seeing the games. All right, they go through the first 6 games of the season, all right, or that would be 7 games, right? They're 4-2, so 7 games of the season, and they are 5-2. And yes, you went to Tennessee, you went to Miami, and you played Bama. Would you have said, all right, about what I thought?
Yeah, no, for sure. I would have been like, that's good. Those are some good football teams in there, and I could see slipping up against a couple of them pretty easily. So. Yeah, I mean, if you're 5-2 at this point, I don't think anybody's very disappointed with the way things are going so far. Now, if you're 4-3, the difference between 4-3 and 5-2 at this point makes a big difference. It really changes the whole mentality and feel of the season.
Because they can win out, sure. Yeah. I mean, nobody ahead of you is necessarily that good. But you don't have the confidence that they're going to win out if you've lost these. That's the thing.
Yeah, and it's like this every year, though, it seems like, with A&M, because you get such highs and such lows. I mean, you think back to the year where we did beat Bama, we lost 2 in a row going into that game and thinking like, I mean, this season's just complete trash. We're not, we're going to be 5-7, 6-6 is our ceiling. I remember that was the mindset, because there was no way we thought we could beat Bama.
Right.
And yet we did. And,
it changed everything.
Even
though it still ended on a thud, there was hope entering the last couple weeks of the season.
It was, because it showed what you're capable of. And, we've lived with that as Aggie fans for years and years, right? Looking at the potential of what the team is capable of doing and just kind of holding on to that hope that one day they'll put it together for a whole season. And it hadn't happened yet. But, man, that's what makes college football fun. You just have to hope.
I just want it to be more fun for us every once in a while. Like more than just once every 10 years. Like, that'd be great.
That would be great.
That'd be real nice.
One of these days, Dave. We got to keep hoping, though, man.
Well, look, and I'll tell you where some of my hope comes from. That D-line.
Yeah.
I mean, not only can they get after the quarterback, teams are not running on them, and against this team, that's what they're going to have to do. They rush for 230 yards a game.
Yeah.
We found out earlier today, Chris Lowe told us that Josh Heupel is undefeated when his team rushes for 140 yards or more. Can they keep him under that number?
Yeah, 140 is a tough one, especially if your average is 230. If anybody could do it, I believe this front seven could, because they are playing pretty dang good football right now, especially up front. And that, you're right, that does give you a chance in every game, because you're not going to get blown out when you have that kind of front seven, getting after the quarterback, stopping the run, tackles for loss. Now, obviously, we got to do a little better on the back end. We can't be giving up big plays, and we talked about that Friday. Remember, we said, I said, we can handle one deep ball for a touchdown. We can't handle multiple and come out of this with a win, and we gave up multiple.
You gave up multiple, but again, though,
can't do it, man.
Excuse me for going back to last Saturday for a moment, but you kick the field goal, you don't get your field goal block, you win that game.
I know. And that's what's frustrating, and that's why everybody's saying we should have won. And that's why you left that game disappointed and looking for people to blame. Let's blame the coach, blame the offensive line, blame Max, blame the secondary, because we were just a couple of decisions away, a couple of plays away from that being a totally different game Saturday.
Yeah. Secondary. I don't know how I want to phrase this, but just your assessment of what you've seen, because the Miami game was, the secondary was out of place. The tackling was bad.
Yeah.
It wasn't a tackling issue this weekend. It was they were picking on DeBerry. They were.
Well, I mean, they saw him as a liability. They knew they had a good matchup against him. They exploited it. It's what good coaches do. I mean, I assume we were trying to do the same thing. We probably just didn't have as many favorable matchups. So they got to figure that out, though, because they just put a blueprint out there that every offense that can throw the ball can follow. So, I mean, they either need to get him some help over the top or put somebody else in there or play a little softer coverage with them. But I do know they can't go out there and just roll the same secondary look out there as they did last week, because that's not good. That was no good.
Does it make you feel, by the way, if you got any questions for Steve, we can do it today since there's only two of us, 979-693-1150. You can just text the hotline. Hannah will read it to us at the Angry Elephant News and Social Center. Does it, I don't know how I want to phrase this, do you feel that Tennessee's ability to, like, they haven't been sacked a bunch, right? 6 for the whole season.
Yeah.
All right. They release the ball quickly. The fact that they throw shorter routes, does that maybe play better for A&M? I know Miami did shorter routes, and they just didn't tackle. I feel like they figured out the tackling part.
Yeah.
Or does it hurt A&M in that instance?
Well, I think it can be both. I mean, one, it's going to be hard to get pressure on a quarterback if they're getting the ball out of their hands that quick. Now, do we do a good job tackling on the catch?
Mm-hmm.
You know, are we not giving yards after catch? That's what's going to be the big thing when you play an offense that throws the ball, throws the short game, which we should do more of sometimes, especially against a front that's pressuring us. But it also can be frustrating for the defensive line, because now we're used to playing in those 3rd and 10, 3rd and long situations, because we're getting so many tackles for loss, getting a sack, putting the offenses in a tough spot. Now you're forced in more of these 2nd and 5s, 3rd and 2s, different scenarios that they hadn't been in. Now they're really good at those too. Let's be honest. If they want to get after the run on 3rd and 1, I mean, they can stop. They can stop offensive lines and get pushed. So it'll be interesting to see. I would rather play against something like that, the bend but don't break, as opposed to 30, 40, 50-yard bombs down the field. That's probably more frustrating.
So look, I know the narrative was Bama's not what they usually are, and they still may go 11-1. I know that narrative, right?
Mm-hmm.
The way A&M played last week, do they beat other teams in the SEC West? Do they beat Tennessee? Do they beat, like, the way they played last week? Is that enough?
I think it is enough the way they played. They just can't have the bad things go wrong, right? They just got to have a couple breaks. I mean, I can think of like 10 breaks that went Alabama's way, and I can't even think of maybe a couple that went our way.
Well, here's a couple that did go our way though. False starts.
Yeah. Well, that was pretty amazing.
Right.
That was, and that stadium was loud. Holy cow, that was loud.
The false starts, the turnovers. A&M won that as well. And really, I think, like, it was weird. Like, why did he throw the ball at the end of the game? Like, there was like an outside hope. But then you talk about the things that went against A&M.
Mm-hmm.
They only gave up 4 first downs on. They were 4 of 12 on 3rd down conversions.
Yep.
But 3 of those 4 were back breakers.
Backbreakers. Yeah, I mean that is just such a killer. I mean, when you get a team into that 3rd and 14, 3rd and 9, and you give up touchdowns on those long 3rd downs, it just, you want to pull your hair out. It's like, oh, I mean, we just one more play, and we just, we have so much momentum, and yet they made the plays, and that's where you got to give Alabama credit. We can talk about it whatever you want, but at the end of the day, Alabama made those plays.
Yeah, they did.
We didn't just give them the game. I mean, they went out there and made plays to win it. Even the play at the last play where a guy tips it up off the ground. It's like, dude, when have you ever seen that happen?
Right.
He made it in the most critical time possible, or else we're getting the ball back with like 1:20 left. We got a shot. We get a chance there. But, yeah, wasn't our day, man.
All right, we'll hit a break. We'll come back with more. Right now, I want to talk about Pumpkin Palooza. It starts tomorrow. Today's the last day to get tickets online. Tickets will be more expensive at the gate, so families should get their tickets now and avoid the lines at pumpkinpaloozabcs.com. Again, that is pumpkinpaloozabcs.com. If you haven't been, you're missing out there at Milliken Reserve. Flying Pumpkins are going to fill the festival air, and they take place over this one weekend, the 14th tomorrow and Sunday the 15th. Festivals will kick off with Pumpkin Palooza's trail run on Saturday morning, and then the festival taking place from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. on both Saturday and Sunday. That trail run, by the way, on the 14th, 7 a.m. start. Make the most of the fall weather by hitting trails for PR. Runners can choose between half marathon, 10K, and 5K races. They also have short kids runs, so the whole family can join in on the trail run. Dress up in your favorite fall costume to race in style. The race is put on by the Conservancy's amazing partners at First Light Racing. Learn more and register at racefirstlight.com. Visit pumpkinpaloozabcs.com to learn more and purchase your Pumpkin Palooza tickets. Remember, more expensive at the gates. Tickets online now to avoid the lines and get the very best price. Pumpkinpaloozabcs.com. Again, that is pumpkinpaloozabcs.com. And we're back. TexAgs Radio presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. The final countdown. Steve McKinney in studio. Billy traveling. Seth doing his thing. So we're going to hold down. We actually talked a lot of football in that segment.
Probably more than we've talked all year on Friday.
It was fun. It was fun. So if there's questions for Steve, you can do it on the hotline 979-693-1150. I have a question for you that I want to ask, but let's go to the Angry Elephant News and Social Center. Hannah is there. Hannah, you got something for Steve?
Yeah, Dave and Edmund is asking Steve, back when you were a young buck playing for A&M, did you consider the fans while you were playing? Did you think about that after a loss, or were they not even a thought in your mind?
Yeah, I mean, I think you do think about them. I mean, obviously, everybody takes pride in doing a good job and winning for the fans. I mean, you know, I remember the first time I ever ran out on the Kyle field and how amazing that felt, you know, all the fans yelling and the towels waving, and, you know, it's just like a core memory for me growing up. So, I mean, yeah, absolutely. I mean, you think about the fans. I mean, once the game starts, you're blocking it out.
Right.
Now, I can tell you, you know, sitting on the sidelines, you know, a big third down or a big fourth down, and the crowd's like super loud. I mean, you take notice to that if on the sideline. You're thinking about, you're like, God, there's no way they can hear out there because I can't hear the person next to me. There's no way they can hear. So, yeah, I mean, dude, we have the best fans here in the world, bar none. And I've played in a lot of different stadiums, a lot of, you know, NFL, college, and there's no fans better than A&M fans, especially when it's a big game and a third down. And I mean, it's pretty incredible. And Saturday was unbelievable. Holy cow. I mean, I remember that game, and then the previous Bama game at home.
Just amazing.
I got like a headache. Like my head was starting
to hurt. Even after?
No, like during the game, because it was so loud, like, you know, just the buzzing and I was like, dude, I'm about to take some migraine medicine. Like, seriously, I was struggling, and I'm just going like that. If it's so loud that I'm getting a migraine, like, you know, that's loud.
I know you're all in on A&M. Are you kind of in on your former team, the Texans? Like, do you pay now that C.J. Stroud's there and they feel like they figured it out?
They look pretty solid. I mean, they look a lot better than I thought they'd look.
Yeah.
Put it that way. After the first couple games, I was kind of like, oh, my goodness, this is going to be a rough year. And then CJ just kind of turned it on and started looking good, and the team's starting to rally around him. And you can see they got something going on. I'm not saying they'll be a playoff team or anything this year, but you can tell they got something to build on and a team that could be pretty good in the future.
You and D'Amico didn't play together, did you?
We did, yeah.
Oh, you did? Okay.
We played together for a couple of years. I was still with the Texans when he came in. D'Amico first of all, he's a great guy.
Great guy.
Super nice guy, you know, just a solid dude and hard worker, good player, very smart. Yeah, I'm excited for him to be the head coach. It's still kind of weird.
Yeah.
You know, because
I
was
still looks like he can play.
Yeah. I mean, he looks like he's about 28 years old, you know, out there. But he's a heck of a dude, and I think he'll be a heck of a good coach, you know. I love watching him and Dan and all these guys that I've played with and know. It's crazy when I look around the NFL and how many head football coaches that I know and, you know, either played with as they were coaching or even interns.
Yeah.
I remember Mike McDaniel at the Texans. He was literally the guy that came and got me out of the locker room when I got cut in my 10th year.
Are you serious?
Yeah. And I didn't even know who he was. I was just like, oh my God, you know. I was like, is this really happening?
When he came, you knew what was
Oh
up?
yeah. Because it was right after I'd torn my ACL. And
what year was that?
It was 2007, after the 7th season.
Okay.
Or
so Gary was coach.
Yeah, Gary was still the coach, and so and I didn't even realize that. You know, what's so funny is that I'm sitting there watching the Dolphins like earlier this year, and I see an old picture of him because he looks totally different than he looked at the Texans. Google him.
Okay.
Google Mike McDaniel when he was at the Texans versus him now.
Yeah.
And you'll see how I was like, I didn't even know that was him. Like, I didn't even know the dude's name, and I'm like, that's the dude that came and got me when I got cut. I had texted like Chester Pitts and Fred Weary.
Yeah.
My former teammates there. I'm like, did you guys know Mike McDaniel was there? He's like, yeah, Steve, we knew that.
That's funny.
I'm like, man, I must not have been paying attention. I had no clue.
What is in your opinion, the most important position group this weekend?
I mean, it's got to be the offensive line.
Yeah.
I mean, we've got to be able to protect up front and run the football. We got to get something going in the run game. And it's just not been happening. I mean, what is our longest run this year? You know, like 12 yards?
I think we had a third. Maybe I'm wrong.
Well, no, what's his name? Daniels had a long run.
Oh, yeah, he had
the
was it 70, 80 yards?
Yeah, he had that one longer. But outside of that, I mean, we're not getting a lot in the run game.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of frustrating. I know, you know, we lost A-Chain, which was a big loss, right?
Look what he's doing there.
I mean, you see how he's tearing up the NFL. Imagine if we were able to collect enough NIL money to keep him here. Because I guarantee you, we could have paid him more than he's making as a third rounder.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And that's where we got to get better as a program in keeping guys like that. Don't let guys like that go to the NFL draft and get a $800,000 signing bonus. Pay him $1 million to stay here, and he would be tearing it up. Because a guy like Heisman-esque. Because guys like him can make an offensive line that's still trying to figure things out look really good. Where we're not even talking about the offensive line or the run game. And it's the same offensive lineman.
Well, think about it. The LSU game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, we got to get something going in the run game. So hopefully that can start this week. It would be nice because I know a lot of times, when you go on the road, you kind of go in with a different type of mindset sometimes than even when you're playing at home.
Yeah.
Like, that if you go in there and run the football and get first down, like it shuts the crowd out. Like, nothing's more frustrating when the visiting team is just clicking off first downs. Right? And you never get to third down. If you're hitting good on first and second down where you're only getting maybe one third down a whole series, that takes the crowd completely out of it.
To bring it back to something you said earlier, there's so much running on first down. I thought this year we would see some down the field passing on first down just to catch them off guard.
Yeah.
I mean, have we seen that? Maybe in game one. I don't remember.
No, we just these last few games we just gotten so conservative, in my opinion. I think about I don't know the numbers statistically, but I know I'm sitting up there with Seth and we're watching the game Saturday, and the number of times it's 2nd and 1, 2nd and 2, 2nd and 3. And all we do is just run the ball, and I'm going, just take a shot.
Right.
Like it's 2nd and 1, 2nd and 2. Just once, take a shot. Every time we would just let's get the first down and just start it over.
Mm-hmm.
To me, that's playing conservative. It's not being aggressive. If you want to beat a team like Bama, you're going to have to take some shots. You got to take some chances. You got to give your studs a chance to go make a play.
Yes.
We didn't put one ball up in the air down the field and let guys go up and try to get it.
Well, the one that I remember was underthrown.
Yeah.
Anais had a touchdown.
Yeah, right? So, but that's the whole game.
Yeah.
The whole freaking game. You got that one play that was wide open for a touchdown.
And Moose can do it. Evan can do it. Anais can do it.
I'm just saying, dude, stop with the 2nd and 1 running. You want to run on 3rd and 1? That's fine. I'll support that. But 2nd and 1, 2nd and 2, throw the ball down the field,
Well, if there's anything that makes me at least optimistic is, again, I know Tennessee's got really good numbers. They got 22 sacks. Their defense is playing well. But they haven't played anybody that A&M has played, and they haven't played the caliber of team that Alabama is. So there is that.
Yeah. We've definitely seen better competition than we're going to see this weekend.
Yep.
At this point.
All right, let's hit a break here. We'll come back. OB will join us. We'll do our pick 6. Right now, we're talking Costa Vida. Go say hi to Holly. She's awesome. She's always smiling no matter the situation. She's a great Aggie who started Costa Vida with this vision of just bringing a restaurant idea, and she did her research, and she decided it's going to be Costa Vida. It's fresh Mex. It's so good, too. If you haven't been there in South College Station, you're missing it. But it's scratch-made the way you love it. Fresh and scratch-made. Taste the difference where every single ingredient matters there at Costa Vida. And you can customize your meal, by the way. You can choose your entree. You got burrito, salad, enchiladas, tacos, quesadillas, the Baja Bowl, nachos. You can choose your protein between sweet pork, raspberry chipotle chicken, shrimp and grilled chicken, steak, or veggies, cheese, you name it. Top it off with your house-made sauces out there, from the roasted green chili, tomatillo, cilantro, red enchilada, salsa fresca, you name it. They got it all out there, and they got signature dishes as well. You can go for morning, you can go for lunch, you can go for dinner. Great service every time you go. Amazing atmosphere, and a place just to go hang out and with a bunch of Aggies. So by the way, you can find Costa Vida all around Kyle Field on game days. As always, they're Aggie owned and operated. It's delicious, it is fresh, and it is here in South College Station. 4501 Mills Park Circle, College Station. It's Costa Vida. We're back. TexAgs Radio presented by David Gardner's Jewelers Rollo Insurance Studio. The final countdown. Steve McKinney with us. Billy and Seth are on assignment. That's what we're going to say. Olin Buchanan joining us. Hello, OB.
Hello.
The legend.
Seth, I can only imagine what assignment Seth has.
Oh, yeah. I think he's playing in like some club championship at the golf club or something.
Must be nice.
It must be. Those
McKinney brothers live charmed lives.
Don't say brothers because it's just one brother apparently.
Well, we did not do pick six earlier in the show with OB, so he's here to join us to do it. By the way, Steve McKinney dominated last week. By dominated, he went 4-2. Olin right behind him at 3-3.
Man, that's a good week for me this year. 3-3.
I tell you, I never thought I'd see a 4-2 after the way I started.
Well, 2-4 was me in third place, and that's been probably my best week. I've been terrible.
A lot of 1-5s this year.
Yeah, a lot.
It's been a weird year.
I feel like I should go with not my gut, but we're going to start things off here with Week 7 pick six. Number 1 game for us. Number 8 Oregon 5-0 at number 7 Washington 5-0 2:30 Alaska Airlines Field at Husky Stadium. ABC broadcast. Washington favored by 3.5. OB.
I'm going to take Oregon.
Okay.
And I'm kind of amazed that Alaska Airlines is the name of the stadium in Washington.
Caught me off guard when I read that, yeah.
Yeah. But, I think Washington, they're obviously good, but I think, what did they beat Arizona by like a touchdown?
Yeah.
The team that lost to Mississippi State? So I think Oregon plays some defense, so I'll take Oregon.
Yeah. I'm gonna go Washington.
Okay.
I think Michael Penix Jr. is
the real deal.
I think he's the real deal. I think this could be his Heisman moment, coming out party for the nation. I don't think very many people have seen him play this year.
I saw him play in Indiana, and if you can get Indiana into a bowl game, you're good.
Yeah, I thought he was pretty good there, and so I think he's kind of playing out of his mind right now. So, and I know Oregon does play good defense, but at home, that crowd, I'm feeling Washington's going to make a statement.
Did you know that up in the Pacific Northwest, and I don't mean this geographically, I mean this like in snoodily, Washington looks down their nose at Oregon. They think they think Oregon's like
crappy state.
What's the riffraff?
The riffraff.
Yeah, that's what I'm looking for.
I don't disagree with them.
Second game, Auburn. They're 0-2 in SEC play at number 22 LSU. May have saved their season last week. 4-2, 3-1 in the SEC. 6 o'clock, Tiger Stadium in Baton Rouge. ESPN broadcast. LSU favored by 10.5.
Oof, man, this is an interesting one because one of these teams is going to bounce back. All right, Missouri. Wait, who? Auburn. Auburn lost. LSU barely won. Does Auburn bounce back?
Can Auburn score more than 10 points? Even on LSU's defense. They don't pass.
No, that's a great question. Yeah, let me have LSU at home.
Yeah, I'm taking LSU. I just don't think Auburn can score with them.
This game's typically tight, by the way.
Yeah, great series.
Great series. I got to go LSU as well. Missouri, bounce back game for them potentially at number 24 Kentucky. Bounce back game for them who got destroyed there in Athens.
This is the one I was thinking of. This was the bounce back game.
This is the one?
Which one of these is going to bounce back? Missouri was looking good. So was Kentucky. They both just kind of took it on the chin Saturday. Missouri, are they going to be the one that bounce back, or is Kentucky going to get their run game going again?
3.5 spread. Kentucky's favored in that one. So what do you think?
I'm gonna go Kentucky. They're at home.
Yep.
I think Kentucky bounces back. They looked really good their last time at home, so I'm gonna go with Kentucky.
Yeah, I'm taking Kentucky too for 2 reasons. They're at home, and I have to say that defensively, Mark Stoops will typically come up with a pretty good plan, and you got to stop Missouri's pass defense, or at least slow it down. And Stoops, I think, can do that.
Yeah.
I am also going Kentucky, I think, for that reason alone. And, they get them at home. We go to the next one, and I'm torn on this one, guys. Number 25, Miami, 4-1, 0-1 in the ACC versus number 12, North Carolina, 5-0, 6:30 there at North Carolina. ABC broadcast. The Heels are favored by 4.5.
At North Carolina?
At North Carolina.
Yeah, to me, this is a tricky one. Miami, they got a pretty good football team. Now, the way they lost last week was like criminal.
Well, Tyler Van Dyke did not play well.
He did not, but the coaching was
atrocious.
Complete garbage. And Cristobal I don't know what he should do, but He shouldn't sleep.
He should
for a
kneel.
week.
That's what he should do.
Yeah, he should absolutely.
I couldn't believe that. I still am like shocked. Like if Jimbo or somebody did that here, it would be unforgivable. Like I'd jump off board on that. That's too much. There.
As it's going on, we all knew what could happen.
Yeah.
And even then, I was like, they're not going to score, and they scored.
I couldn't believe it. Give me North Carolina. I mean, it's at home. It's 4.5. You know, admittedly, I don't know a lot about North Carolina, but
they got Drake May.
I know they got Drake May, and he seems to be pretty highly rated. So let's go Carolina.
Even though Billy Liucci likes to rag on me about repeating myself, I'm going to repeat myself again.
Okay.
And I'm going to say, if you can't take a knee, you can't take the heels.
I'm going Miami. Just more because
you're
I got Cuban ties.
Cuban ties. Yeah.
No, I think this is. I'm hoping the team that played A&M shows up in this game against North Carolina. I know it's harder on the road. I know North Carolina is good, but I maybe that loss kind of jolted them. It could go one of two ways, and I'm going to say they're going to take this one.
It would be helpful for us.
It would be. It would be. All right, the fifth game on the list is number 10 USC, 6-0, 4-0 in the Pac-12 at number 21 Notre Dame, 5-2, 6:30 broadcast on NBC Notre Dame Stadium, and the Irish are favored by 2.5.
Are they playing Southern California or South Carolina?
Southern California.
How is Notre Dame favored by 2.5? Does Vegas know something I don't know?
Well, this is why, because USC gives up a lot of points to everybody.
Their defense is
But Notre Dame doesn't score a lot of points on anybody. So
they'll score on USC.
You think?
Yeah, I do.
This is really mind-boggling to me because I would think USC would roll Notre Dame because the Notre Dame team I've watched doesn't look like world beaters at all. But I hadn't watched a lot of USC either. So, oh my gosh! All right, let me get USC.
USC?
I'm gonna stay with USC.
Okay, Olin.
Yeah, I'm taking the Domers on this one. Yeah, I am. Too much. I feel like I need to shower for saying that because I'm not a Notre Dame fan at all. But big, nasty offensive line. McKinney here could play on that offensive line.
Let's go.
Let's go.
I almost did.
Big, that Notre.
That's right. You were going there first, right?
They're just a big, physical offensive line. I'm thinking they're going to be able to just run the ball right at USC and maybe shorten the game.
I think Notre Dame wins this game. USC's defense. They're going to fire Alex Grinch after this one too. That's what's going to happen.
Wow, you are making some big calls here.
Yeah, we're so good.
I'm looking forward.
Have you seen my record?
Looking forward to seeing this on Sunday.
You could be a very rich man if you would just take everything I've said this year and bet the other way.
Steve, you are in second place at 500, and I'm well under 500.
Well, this is going to be a separation here. I'm about to take a bigger lead.
Separation
We're going to come together on that.
Yeah,
one way or the other.
All right, the last game, Texas A&M, 4-2 on the season. At Tennessee, 3.5 point spread for the Vols on that one, and that game can be seen on CBS, 2:30 broadcast hour time. Steve, I'll let you take the first.
You know, this one, I have very little faith in A&M on the road right now for obvious reasons. We're playing a good team, matches up pretty well with us. I think it's strength on strength though. I think it's our run defense against their running game. I think we'll hopefully win that battle. Defense travels, as y'all know. So offensively, to me, it's just going to be can we protect? Can we give Max enough time? And can we execute making big plays down the field? Because we can't just line up and try to run the ball and win that way. We're going to have to make some explosive plays, which we didn't do last week. But with that said, I am going to pick A&M because I think
to win or to cover?
I'm going to pick them to cover.
Okay.
I want them to win. I'm going to root for them to win. But I feel like even if they did lose, it's not going to be my more than 3. I feel like it's going to be a close game regardless.
Olin?
The definition of insanity, doing the same thing, expecting results, that's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to still pick A&M. I still keep looking at which team has the most talent. And I'm convinced that Texas A&M is a more talented football team if they could just get out of their own way. So I'm kind of hoping, expecting, wishing that A&M gets out of their own way and just goes out and plays a relatively clean football game. If they do that, I think they win outright.
Yeah.
Trust me, I know I'm going to get some hate mail. I hope I'm wrong. I'm picking Tennessee. You got to prove it to me.
On the road, I get it.
I told you during the summer when we were doing shows, you got to prove it to before I buy it in. And Billy gave me a hard time because that's my go-to line. But it's the facts.
Okay.
My go-to line is you've got to prove it to me you can do it on the road. I got to see some real offense, and I got to see a semblance of stopping the pass. Can you do that for me? That's a lot of questions that I have against a team that hasn't played anybody. Doesn't matter. It's about A&M. It's not about the other teams usually. And A&M hasn't done that on the road yet. And unfortunately, they didn't do it last week against Alabama. So I hate to say it out loud. I think Tennessee wins.
Yeah, there's a good chance that could happen, David.
There is.
Look, I hope I go 0-6 if that means A&M wins, right? Because the whole tone of the talk show next week will be doom and gloom, or here we go.
Yeah,
we're back.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
I shouldn't have used a different
Let's
line.
come up with some other line than we're
Yeah,
back.
I know. I noticed
somebody else kind of used that, and it didn't work out too well.
I'm sorry. I felt it as of midway through the sentence.
And back from what?
Yeah.
By the way,
we're back to being talked about again.
Yeah.
In a good way for a week, and then we got the bye week, so there's that. All right, that is our pick 6. OB, do you want to stick around for a little freak of the week and sleeper of the week? You've never done it before.
Do I have to sing it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
You're going to be part of it. You have to sing.
Sure,
it.
I will.
All right, we'll do that when we come back. Wait, you got to wait.
I'm practicing.
Practice? I don't know why I did that.
I ain't talking about practice.
TexAgs Radio.
Was that your...
TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. It is now time for the Freak of the Week.
It's the Freak of the Week.
That's pretty good, Obi.
Pretty good, Obi.
Yeah, pretty good.
I've been practicing.
Pretty
Too
good.
shabby.
All right, so Steve, I'll let you start it off. Who's going to be the Freak of this week?
Oh, my goodness. Let me go. Who I want to be the Freak of the Week is Le'Veon Moss.
Okay.
I want to see our run game go off. I want to see Le'Veon break a few big runs. Love to see him go over 100 yards. Right?
Okay.
We do need that. I wonder what's the most he's had this year in a game.
104?
104, I believe.
Because he had 97 and then 104.
Yeah,
97 against Auburn, 104 against Arkansas.
Yep.
Okay, so we go over 100 against Tennessee, we win.
Let's do 120. Let's do that.
120.
I like that.
Okay. I'm going to say Edgerrin Cooper for two reasons.
Every week.
Number one, he's in an incredible role right now, and he's playing at All-American level. I think we can all agree on that.
Yep.
And number two, just because I want to use this line. Hey, we know he can hunt hogs, but can he help you cage a squirrel?
I like it. I like it. Let's go, Edge Cooper. I'm going to throw in one. I'm going to make it easy, OB. I said earlier you can bank on Evan Stewart. He's my Freak of the Week. He's going to have one of those Evan Stewart performances. We're like, that's the kid.
We need him.
Yep.
We need him to come back. This is too good.
And we go through this, no one says Anias. It's amazing.
Well, because you kind of expect it, right? So it's expected.
Plus, I might have said Anias, but I wanted to use that squirrel line.
Yeah.
He's definitely been a freak every week.
Sleeper of the Week, presented by the Sleep Station. Go see Jared McLeod and ask about the Tempur-Pedic and Purple mattress in the Specs parking lot of Texas and Harvey and in front of the Lowe's at William D. Fitch on Highway 6. Website, thesleepstation.com. Steve, you go first again.
Wow. I'm going to go with somebody who I think is really would really be a sleeper if he shows up this week, DeBerry.
Josh DeBerry.
Because after last week's performance, I got a feeling he's had a pretty tough week of practice.
OB wants this joke to land.
Yeah, he's really.
I'm giving the whole
killing me over here.
I'm
sleeping.
But I think after last week, he's probably heard it every day. People texting him on social media, radio jockeys like yourself, talking bad about him, how he gave up all these yards. My guess is that he shows up Saturday night with a little different mentality and shuts down whoever he's going against. We don't see him get burnt one time Saturday.
Oh, I like it. I like it. I hope you're right. I'm going to say in kind of the same area, except I'm going with Bryce Anderson because they do like to get the ball out quick, right? So guys closer to the line of scrimmage might be more apt to make a big play, might jump a route and turn into a pick six. That guy, Bryce Anderson.
Bryce Anderson it is. I'm going Noah Thomas. I've done two wide receivers. It's been a minute since we've had a Noah sighting.
Well, since New Mexico, actually.
Yeah.
Wow.
He had a touchdown the next week, but not that kind of performance.
Right, yeah, where he just was dominant.
Steve?
11 for 118 on the season.
Yeah, we need that in a game.
That was pretty much all against New Mexico, I'm guessing.
Yep. All right, that's going to do it for TexAgs. Steve, thanks so much, buddy.
Yeah, man, enjoyed it.
Appreciate you.
See y'all next week.
Olin, thanks for coming in.
Oh, thanks for letting me be a part of this grand show.
Yeah, well, I like your singing. It's Freak of the Week.
Better than Seth's.
That's going to do it for TexAgs Radio here on a Friday. Keep it on TexAgs.com. We'll have the post-game wrap with Leone and CT and, of course, Luchador on Sunday. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you next time.